This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, let's see where Monique is and what she joins, and I'll know she's in. They're in the boardroom. So I'm like, we're all sitting in the boardroom. She's like, I just can't get in. I said, well, I got people texting me, so let me go sign in in my office.
Well, we can see her waving her hands, but
I don't see Monique though. You can see
Well,
Monique? Oh, wait, hold on. She's on the next page.
Yeah, she's Jonathan Anderson today.
No, Jonathan Anderson's probably joining us, or Michael is, one of the two.
But that's
Right,
She's
but we have
Jonathan
a view of the
Anderson.
boardroom.
that does not look like Jonathan Anderson.
I see Monique with the name Jonathan Anderson.
That's Monique.
huh. Yeah, see, I don't even see that. Oh,
Oh.
there I do. I do see her in the
Yeah.
boardroom. Okay, so Monique, can you speak up and make sure everything's working okay in there, and I'll leave my office? That's because Jonathan used the laptop last, so he signed in. We were at a safety meeting this afternoon. Okay, it looks like the boardroom's not going to work this evening. We should have gotten an earlier start. All right, stand by if you don't mind, just 1 second real quick.
I've had a bird fly into my house, so if I make some strange facial expressions, they're trying to get it out.
Oh my gosh. What kind of bird is it?
Looks like it's a hummingbird. I think it's stuck up in our skylight.
Oh,
Wow.
oh.
Poor guy. Okay, let me make sure everybody's in. Looks like they are. Okay, Rena, did he get in? You're in, Rena? You're muted.
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay,
I'm in.
cool. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. And I know Monique will join us. So hold on, let me pull up the agenda real quick.
Adorable.
We just used the meeting room, so I don't know what's going on in there. We gotta get that figured out, I guess.
You hear us now?
Yeah. I
Oh,
hear
is
you,
it working
Monique.
now?
Yeah, we unplugged it and plugged it back in.
Okay, so are you able to pull up the agenda or do I need to do that?
I think I have it up already. Hang on 1 second.
You got a
Share
screen
screen.
share. Yeah, share your screen.
I do actually have it open. Let me find it.
Probably need to get started on these earlier, just if we're gonna use that room, just even though we just used it, we just came out of it.
I don't know where I found it.
Well, let me go ahead and share mine. Hold on a second, stand by.
Can you see it now?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right, good. Phew. All right, move this over here. Okay, are you ready, Monique, when it gets time to take roll?
Sure, I'm ready.
Okay, all right, go ahead, Board President. Sorry for that delay.
Okay, well, we'll call the meeting to order and let's see if we have a quorum.
Okay. President Wheeler,
Present.
Vice President Vella,
Here.
Schmidt,
Here.
Director Jordan,
Here,
Director Zuka.
Here,
Okay, all 5 directors are here and we have a quorum.
Do we have any public comments?
None received per the agenda, and I'm not aware that anybody's called in or anything today.
Okay. Agenda review. Any,
We just lost you, Kirk. You're
Kirk,
muted.
you muted. I don't know
Oh.
how. Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Okay.
yeah. Does anybody want to pull anything from the consent agenda?
Yeah, there's 2 things actually. I'd like to pull item 5F from the consent agenda. And another thing, this isn't changed to the agenda exactly, but there are 2 items on the agenda today, item 7B and 8A. Both are located very close to my residence.
Hmm.
I consulted with District Council Julie, and she said that I am not required to recuse. One of them, item 8B, the 815 Old County Road, is extremely close. I am interested in recusing anyway. So when we get to that item, I don't know what's the best way to handle it. If I should drop off, and then if somebody can text me or something when it's time for me to come back on, whatever works for that.
I can text you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and again, I'd like to pull item 5F.
Okay. Then let's go on to acknowledgement presentations.
Okay, Monique, if you'll scroll down. I don't see, I do not see that Brent is present. I was just
No.
checking one last time. We've reached out to him a couple of times.
Yeah, the phone caller, Tammy, is Michael Anderson.
Okay, good. All right. Thanks, Michael, or Rena and Michael. Okay, so this is, oh, there you go. This is a certificate of recognition. You guys know because I've sent it around through DocuSign for you all to sign, and thank you for being attentive to that, and Stanley's from last month. We're recognizing Brent Chester, who worked here 28 years before he retired last month. And he was operations supervisor at the time of his retirement. I believe he started here as a water system operator. And he was the guy who just really achieved all of his certs plus some, and took pride in, doing the very best job that he could for the district and in leading the operations crews and all the information. He was a jack of all trades. So it's really hard that he parted ways because he would just get in there and do a lot of different things besides just operations. So with that, Rena, you got something that you want to add? Of course, we wish him the best. I always do for people who actually purposefully retire. We just weren't expecting this so quickly from him, but at the same time, I wish him the best and hope that, he enjoys his life and his post MPWD challenges and opportunities and career decisions that he might make if he continues to work. So Rena?
Yeah, thank you, Tammy. Yeah, so Brent was certified as a water distribution 4 operator. You could go as high as a distribution 5 operator, so he was near the top there. And I believe he also had a treatment certificate T3, so that's kind of right in the middle of it. But as Tammy mentioned, he's just a jack of all trades. And I think right now where we definitely miss Brent a lot is just working with the developers and the development that's going on in the community. Michael Anderson and I have just picked up that slack, and we can understand the amount of work that Brent put into that because we're doing that right now. And then the other aspect of it, and actually was the topic of our employee safety meeting today. We talked about the water meters and how important they are, and the AMI system and how you go about programming the water meter to the transmitter and how that sends the signal and the information up to another transmitter that sends it over here. And Brent just knew all that stuff, and just stuff that he learned, things that he picked up. So to say that he was a jack of all trades is a good way to describe Brent. I mean, he could probably take apart a car engine and put it back together besides, trying to figure out and understand and use, geographical information system to a certain degree. Definitely a lot better than me and a lot of other people, but, and all self-taught, so we truly miss him and we'll miss him. And as Tammy said, just the best wishes to him in this next phase of his life. I just wish that, he could have let us know he wanted to do that. We could have planned for it, like we've done other things like, Tammy's succession and some other folks that are also planning to retire too. But anyways, our best to Brent and his family. Thanks, Tammy.
Michael, did you join us? I know you have an agenda item, but did you want to say anything about your peer?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay, good. Sure. Yeah, I wish he was here. Working with Brent, I've been working with him for almost 24 years, and boy, we've had our times, our ups and downs, and we're very different. Our personalities are very different, but as has been mentioned, Brent is definitely a jack of all trades. Not only that, he can read a book and memorize probably 95% of it, and it just blows me away, his brain. I've learned a lot from Brent. I think we all have. And now working, with Brenna to kind of continue what Brent was working on, it's fun. It's exciting. I love it. It's challenging. It's different stuff that Brent held on to that now I get to play with, and it's fun. But I get to see truly just how hard of a worker Brent was. I always knew, but it's a lot more evident now. And, Brent, I find myself now thinking, even though we're different and I have my way of doing things and Brent has his, now that I'm picking up some of his work, I find myself thinking, what would Brent do? What would Brent say? And Brent was a stickler for so many things. He was just always by the book. And I can appreciate that a lot. So I'm going to miss Brent. It is nice to see, it's hard to part ways with any work family member that you've been working with for a long time. But it's good when it's a positive thing, when they're moving on in life and that you can still talk to them and see them and enjoy the next chapter in their life with them. So I'm happy for Brent, and it's been a privilege to work with him all these years.
Awesome. Thank you,
Thanks,
Michael.
Michael.
That's all from staff.
Kirk?
Anybody on the board have anything they want to
Yeah,
put forward?
I have a couple of quick comments, Kirk.
Sure.
Brent, yeah. When I started with the district, Brent was fairly new, just a few years. And he always struck me as a person who he's a stickler to details. He pays a lot of attention to details, and details are important. And in those days, we used to see people in the field a lot more often than we do. It was more difficult to separate policy from operation because we were out there a little bit more. And I've seen him doing plumbing work. And when he soldered, I go like, unbelievable. This guy, this is not what he does all the time, but he was a perfectionist, and I really appreciated just watching him work, and I saw him, soldering copper pipe and cutting and, bending and all of that. And that's how I remembered him then. Then later on with the office and everything else, I go like, this guy made a total transition from being hands-on, give me something and if I see it, my hands will do it, to a person who became almost like a techie guy. And I go like, his brains work so different, and sure enough, and then when we had some lunches and all that, and his thing turned into talking about food and how it's cooked and all of that, and he knows the details, how and what went in, and the the ingredients, and I go like, he always amazed me, how his brain works, so I, like everybody else, I wish him well. He was a great guy, and he was an asset to the district, and wish him all the best for whatever he embarks on. That's it. Congratulations to him. Yeah.
Anyone else?
If I may, I'm sorry, this is Michael again.
Sure.
Thank you, sorry. Lewis mentioned the word perfectionist, and it reminded me of a couple of things about Brent. 100% perfectionist, and he, as a child, he his parents put him in the karate, and he insisted on becoming a black belt because he wasn't going to settle for anything less. And then later on in life, he enjoyed bowling, and he decided, well, I'm gonna perfect this sport, and he did. He's bowled a few 300 games, and so it's just like Lewis was saying. His brain, his mind, when he sets his mind to doing something, he's not going to fail. So again, something that I've learned from Brent, and I appreciate. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Anyone have short questions or related to the items on the consent agenda, not including 5F?
So do you want approval with the exception of 5F, or just a quick question? We're going to approve the whole thing.
If there, well, Kathy has raised her hand, so I think she may have a question on something.
Yeah, sorry, I clapped by accident instead of raising my hand. So I wasn't here for the June 23rd meeting. So I think it's okay that I still approve. I just want to clarify with council that I could still approve and not have to abstain from that portion of the consent.
You can.
Okay, thank you.
Brian?
Yes, I had a question on 5B. And as far as we could just also do my questions on 5F and then move it into the packet, the consent, because I anticipate voting for it. So whatever you prefer, Kirk.
Well, we've already decided to pull it, but we can do it. I guess it depends on whether it's something that's going to take time or not.
It depends on the answers to my questions.
Okay.
Okay, then.
So maybe we should just pull it. Yeah, it probably won't take long. I hope.
Okay.
So if I could ask my question, first of all, I want to say the minutes for the June 23rd meeting, I thought were really good. I just want to express my appreciation of those. It seemed like you got in a little bit more into some of the board discussion. I felt that was really helpful for me in reviewing. So I just wanted to mention that. And then for item 5B, page 14, and this must, maybe we've discussed this before, but there's towards the bottom, there's a $300,000, 2 checks totaling $300,000 for Bank of New York Mellon Sweep account. I was wondering if we could.
Yeah,
briefly
so
explain
those,
what that is.
we have a sweep account at BNY. They're our trustee bank for the certificates of participation, the debt financing. And so when we look at, I manage the Wells Fargo account and I see that there's payments. We typically do 100,000 a month. Okay, that goes into the sweep account, which is an automatic account that gets swept in May and in November. May for an interest payment, and then in November again for interest and principal. That way we don't forget about it. We get the invoice and it's just a typical banking. So I hadn't made them for the few months and I wanted to get them in before the end of the fiscal year, of course, and make sure that the account's ready to go when November comes and that sweep gets made. So those were those 2 deposits that I made. So I just transferred from Wells Fargo over to the BNY account.
Okay, so those are COP payments.
They're going into the sweep account for the annual payment, the next annual payment in November. Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, that's all the questions I had for items 5A through E. I'm happy to make a motion to approve unless other folks.
I don't see anybody else raising their hand.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Okay, you ready for the roll call vote?
Yes.
Okay, Director Schmidt,
And I'm sorry, there's a very loud train here. If that was for me, I'm voting yes.
Vice President Bella,
yes.
Director Zuka,
Yes.
Director Jordan,
Yes.
President Wheeler.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. 5-0.
Then let's go on to item 5F.
Monique, will you scroll down to 5F, please? Thank you.
Page 31, Monique. Keep going.
I think this is it.
That's 21.
What page number did you say?
31, 31. There you go.
Could I go ahead and ask my questions?
Please.
Okay. So probably for Rena, I guess the page 2 says that the work act, I don't know how you pronounce it, DACO.
Daco.
I wanted to just ask about if you want to expand any more on this, because this seems to be expansion of their work. That sounded like that was a good experience with them.
It was a good experience, and that's why I have Michael here too. You know, and it was the first time that we've engaged an outside contractor to help us, right? And the idea was that we would try and build a relationship with an outside contractor in the event we had an emergency that was going to, you know, require more than just staff to handle. But we also said, well, you know, we need to give these people some work. So during the past 12 months, Michael used this contract to engage DACO. And so there were the 4 task orders that were part of the staff report to give you an idea of when we use DACO and for what purpose. And if you recall, we were bringing this up with the board last year. The idea was to focus on water system repairs, water service repairs, those types of things. They could be emergency, but they also could be planned. But what we also had them do this year, and I mentioned it, and they weren't related to this public works contract, with just some maintenance work. We have a cathodic system on our pipelines to kind of protect the pipes from rusting away. And the cathodic system uses these anode sacs or magnesium chemical compound in them. And we need to have some of them replaced. I forget how many we have in the system, but there are quite a few of them. And so Michael asked DACO and somebody else to give him a price, and DACO gave us the best price to go out there and replace some of those sacs. So with the budget that we had appropriated for our cathodic system, we engaged DACO. So there's that $29,000 that we used DACO. It wasn't related to the contract, we felt, but it was work that we gave to DACO. And then the other thing that we used DACO for was we have a capital project to replace a bunch of polybutylene services on Hastings Drive that from time to time break on us. And so this area here, we felt that it's just replacing services, and we wanted to get an idea of what it was going to take to replace the services. So we actually hired DACO to replace a few services. And also, Michael, was it Stolowski Gonzalez? Was it Golden Bay, Michael?
Yeah, Golden Bay Construction.
Golden Bay Construction, the 2 companies to go after and replace a couple of these services on Hastings to find out how they would do it. Because what we want to do is, based on what we found out from their work, is put together a spec so we can go out there and get some prices to do that. So that work from DACO cost a little under $25,000, I believe is what I have in there, $24,395. So again, we didn't feel that was related to the public works contract. So we separated out. In fact, we actually used some of the COP dollars, the capital dollars, to pay that $24,000 bill to DACO because it was related to a capital project that's going to be coming. So we've learned now what we can use DACO for. Now we've got a sense of how much it costs. I mean, to use them to come out after hours is really expensive. So we're just not going to, call them out whenever we need them, but we know, and now they know that we've got some work for them from time to time. And so if you notice this fiscal year, the budget that we have is not $150,000 like it was last year, but it's $100,000 because it's kind of more in line. And so again, the idea is to try and just keep this relationship with this contractor. In the event we have a major need for some additional hands, we got somebody we can lean on besides some of our regional, other public works types agencies, maybe like Matt in Palo Alto. We might call him to help us out in the future. But we wanted just to build a relationship with a private contractor. And so I think, Michael, do you have anything you want to add about the work that DACO did for us over the last 12 months?
The only thing I'd like to add is just that they've been very responsive. All the guys that have come out to assist with leaks have been respectful and hardworking, and so far it's been an enjoyable experience. So I look forward to continuing to work with them.
Okay, so I think that was helpful, and it might have answered one of my two other questions. That one question being there was work that they did that wasn't from the Public Works contract. So where was the authorization from for them to do that work?
It was just maintenance work. It was maintenance work that was budgeted.
Okay. And then the last question is on what's showing on the screen now about mobilizing them in events of emergency. The hypothetical I was thinking about is a major earthquake, and we, like everybody else in the Bay Area, needs to do a lot of rebuilding. Do we have first call on these people rather than somebody else saying we will pay you triple to come and work with them?
Yeah, we don't have that in there, that contract, Brian, with them, that we have first call, but we have a relationship with them, and if something major like an earthquake were to happen in the Bay Area, I mean, there would be people coming from all over the state and probably outside the state to help us. Because there wouldn't be enough people, and that's where we would use this CalWarn program that's out there. And we use them, if you recall, at the beginning of this calendar year, we had that water leak on Alameda de las Pulgas over by the shopping center. We use a CalWarn as to actually find some repair parts because our normal place where we purchase repair parts was closed for the holidays. We couldn't get a hold of anybody. So if there was a major emergency that would just we weren't able to do it ourselves. I think that, we would try and call DACO, but I'm not going to tell you that the contract here says that we have first rights. They are only so big, and to the extent that they could help us, they would. But I suspect that we would be, looking for other help, just like anybody else would be in a major emergency.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good to me. I'm happy to support that. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-17.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready for a roll call vote?
Yes.
Okay, Director Schmidt,
Yes.
Vice President Bella,
Yes.
Director Zuka,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
President Wheeler.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Let's see, item 6, we have no hearings or appeals. So item 7, capital improvement program.
So thank you. Tonight we have with us Al Abbasier, and he prepared staff's report. So he'll briefly just introduce what he prepared. And then Dan Bergman is here with us from IG Service, and he'll talk about the project fund report that he's prepared. So Al, are you ready? Let me scroll down and make sure.
Can you hear me?
Yep, there you go. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Under the fiscal impact section of the staff report, there's the first number is number that's been there on every report, I'm sure. I didn't go back and look, but that's the initial COPS funding. And then the second amount is it was the, for want of another term, down payment to pay off the closing costs, and then the remainder was applied to the loan. And then the project costs to date, 12,700 and roughly 47,000 for the various costs. And then the dividends earned to date has been roughly at 750,000. And that's, it's called dividends, but it's the interest paid on the monies in the two bank accounts. And I'll just make a small comment about that. In the last couple of years, that's been, because of the interest rates, been negligible, and it's jumping up quite a bit now. It's still low, but the fourth quarter payment was more than the first 3-quarter payments for the last fiscal year, just to show how much it is increasing. That's for both of the accounts. And based on the Fed putting the interest rate up 3/4 of a point today and everything else that's happening, I expect the dividend revenue to be substantially more in the coming year than it was last year. But anyway, the balance in the account left to spend on projects is a little under 7.2 million, as far as that goes. And then can you scroll up, please, Monique? The next, down, sorry, down. Thank you. And let's see, that one is, it's really, the first section really just is a reiteration of what's on the staff report. And then the second section shows where the 42,000 comes from. Initially, 251,000 was deposited, 208,000 was used in issuance costs, and then the net balance was applied against the loan. And then the third section shows where the monies have been spent, what projects to date, adding up to the 12.7 million. And then the last section is the interest earned. Again, dividends, interest, really the same animal. And next page, please, Monique. Thank you. And this is just the amortization schedule on the COPS bond payments. Shows what's been made, payments to be made in the future. And obviously the payments are current. And the next section, please. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I had something else. That's not, it's just a worksheet. I'm sorry. So, so that's the staff report, and I'll let Dan take it from here.
Thank you, Al. Go ahead, Dan. Welcome.
Thank you, Al. Thank you, board and staff. You can hear me, right, Tammy?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good.
Very well.
My role over the past 5 years has been to provide outside accountability for the Series 2016 COP spending. Up through 2019, I was doing quarterly reports. Then we moved to semi-annual, which really has been enough. Last October, when I did this report, I had worked with staff to do a plan to completion to spend the remaining funds, that amount that's right now around $7 million. The focus at that time were the projects at Old County and El Camino. So one of the things we're going to see, and board probably you're already aware of, is we're not quite going to make it by the end of this year. I'll show you that in the end. But to go through my report, if we can scroll down through table 1, this is essentially, yeah, and then stop there. This is a representation essentially of what Aline just presented. This is showing the fund balance, the dividends or interest from the beginning. And if you scroll down, you can see what he was just pointing out about how the dividend payments have dropped And now they're starting to come back up on the next page, going downward. And just stop at the bottom right. So it was down to almost nothing, and now it's starting to come back up as far as dividends are concerned. This table reconciles perfectly to the Bank of New York statements all the way back to the beginning. And this table is also associated with the next table that we're going to see, table 2. If you can scroll down. So for the 6-month period, there were 7 requisitions totaling $1,349,720.74. So this reconciles those requisitions to the BNY statements, and it also shows where money was spent on projects and whether it was construction or engineering. And as we move to table 3, we'll see yet another level of detail. This table in the actual spending area under COP spent shows the exact dollars spent on all the projects since the beginning. But the column that's more meaningful to look at this point is the column that's labeled updated. And all the projects on the top are projects that are final. But towards the, just below the middle, you see those that are designated construction. And below that, projects that have been added that weren't on the original COP identified list. But these projects are all relevant because these are the projects that will help expend the remaining $7 million. And I'm not the one who can explain why the delays. Staff can do that. There's many, many reasons. But what it appears as I look at this is that some combination of these projects will get the money spent. The projects are about $5 million more than there are in the 2016 COPs. So, and then finally, the illustration, the graph, one more page down. So last time you saw this, you saw the $19.9 million being spent by this December. What I've done in this case is just stretched it out a year. It doesn't mean it's going to take a year. It just means 1 or 2.5 of those big projects need to get constructed. And that is the end of my presentation.
Thanks, Dan. Questions from the board?
Tammy, could you expound a little bit on Dan's comment on delays?
Monique, will you scroll up one page so I can see the projects? So Oak County, the ECR, the El Camino Real, that's where I'll start first, right? Right under the last final, is near completion. In fact, we anticipate bringing the notice of completion either in September or October. Okay, so we should be wrapping that project up and getting the final costs in these next 60 days. At least that's what we are targeting right now. Belmont Canyon Roads, Hastings Drive, Vine Street are currently under construction. And you'll hear about that from Brandon. I see that he's here on behalf of the district engineer team. I'm anticipating that that is also near completion based on our project meetings that we've had recently. So I'm thinking in the next 60 days, 90 days, that'll be wrapping up as well. It's the Old County Road, this big one, the 6 million, that is, we're at 100%. And then the design team got COVID. That was our last week notice. Okay. So that's the reason. There's always been, there's complications with the Oak County because of all the underground infrastructure and all the extra attention to details that we've had to pay during the design phase, the planning and the design phase. But the plan now is that it goes out to bid by the beginning of the year and it gets constructed. Brenna, help me out. 6 months? Is it a 6-month construction period?
It's going to be a good 6 months. And right now, and actually the next agenda item has to do with Old County Road. But right now, the plans are being reviewed by the State Division of Drinking Water. They've got to take a look at it because there's some issues with potential conflicts and we got to get their approval. So we're awaiting that. So we're getting close. And as soon as we get the approval from the state Division of Drinking Water Office, we're hoping to put that project out to bid and actually hopefully start construction before the end of calendar year 2022. But it's probably going to be a good 6-month construction. And again, this one, the construction, most of the activity is going to take place at night, which is going to be a first for us. We've already talked to the other agencies, San Carlos, Belmont, San Mateo County, and they have all told us that my understanding is night work is okay. So this is going to be a nighttime project for us, which is going to make it a little bit more expensive. So I think that you see the updated estimate of about $5.5 million. That's kind of where the engineer's estimate is now. We'll just have to wait and see what the bids look like. And that's going to be a function of how busy contractors are, and then, what kind of material cost effect is going to have on that particular project.
And moving down to the last 3 projects that were added, Harbor Boulevard, those designs are, I believe we're going out to bid in August. And so you will be seeing probably a construction award in September as well. And then Newlands and Oak Knoll, those are currently under design. And I want to say we're almost near the 60% design for those.
Yeah.
And then the transmission line assessment, we actually have a final meeting on that next week. Is it next week? I think it's next week, on next Wednesday. And so that one is coming to a close too. It's the big one. It's the OCR, the Old County Road Project. And just because of its complication and complex nature, that's the reason why it's taken so long to get those funds spent. So I hope that was a decent summary, Vice President Vella.
I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that we kind of knew that Old County was going to be a little nightmare or a big nightmare. But if I understood Dan correctly, then did you project the spending to the end of next year? Was that spending that should have been done this year and you projected a year out, or you just went with what was spent and you just pushed it to December? Can you?
Well, in our October meeting, and even in my January presentation, we were focusing on, at that time, about completing the spending by this December.
Correct.
So it's evident from what Tammy was explaining that these projects are going to get done next year.
All right.
So I just chose December 23 as a target date.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Old County Road. And I'm sure that we'll encounter surprises as we start the actual digging in the ground. So, all right, that's it for me for now. Thank you.
I have one more request.
Mhm.
When the last dollar is spent, I would like to come on in your meeting and pronounce that the last dollar has been spent.
We'll be happy to invite you.
We'll give you $1 each.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Matt, you have a question?
Yeah, question for Dan. And maybe Rena can elaborate on this a little bit. I heard in the explanation on item 5F, I think it was, that some COP dollars were used to pay for DACO on a portion of work that, and I'm using Rena's words here, were related to a project. How are we tracking the scope of work and what we're spending the dollars on in this table, which has got sort of projects and dollars listed? But I mean, I guess what's the QC on what the board originally agreed to spend money on versus what we're actually spending money on with the infrastructure? I'm not sure if that's Dan or if that's Rena or if that's Tammy.
I'm happy
I
to
guess
start the discussion.
let me tell you what makes me nervous is hearing that we're spending COP dollars on an on-call contractor. And so how are we making sure that that scope is actually what we agreed to be working on?
No, it's a great question. And it just brings to mind that the Hastings connections, service connections replacement is an identified project. It's not on this list, right? You're right. And one of the things the Muni advisor, and you're going to hear from Bud because he's going to be visiting the finance committee next month, has said is, try to get these funds spent. If you've got approved projects, which the Hastings connection has been an approved project, it's just been one that we were going to do in-house. because we knew, not in-house do the work, but in-house bid it out. Because it doesn't require full specs. It requires a spec document, but it doesn't need to be engineered. And so I think it needs to be added. It's been approved by the board in the past. We actually busted it out, Matt, from Hastings Drive improvements. There was a project from Hastings Drive improvements that was Hastings service connections, and we separated it. So what we need to do is put it back on, we need to put it in this list. Okay, so all Rena was talking about is we just did like little pilot tests with these two contractors to go, okay, now we're working on the specs with Vic Fong, now that he's on staff. How do we need to accommodate when we bid this out for the regular contractors? So we just used them, and then we actually got another bid or price, like Rena said, to say, okay, now we can better formulate these spec documents. So you're right, on Dan's next report, it does need to show the Hastings service connections since it's been busted out.
Well, and I think as a matter of process, to me anyway, you know, again, one board member out of 5 is I have no problem having a conversation about adjusting the projects on here. And we don't need to go into the details, you know, if we're staying at a policy level about what that looks like. But I do think that that needs to come to the board to say, you agreed on this list of projects. This one needs to expand slightly, whatever that looks like. I mean, it's not like an inch, but if it's, I don't know, if it's a mile, right? So there's a threshold beyond at some point where I think it has to come back to the board to say, yes, that's how we want to reprioritize spending the money. So I just want us to be careful about adding things on or doing this because it's related to out of this pot of money. We agreed to the projects, we agreed to the scope. Then, you know, again, I'm happy to have that conversation at any time. It just seems to me that we ought to be having it not, you know, in advance rather than after the fact.
No, we'll do that because we are going to be bidding it out soon. So we will be having that conversation with the board.
Tammy, a clarification, and I would raise my hand, but I don't know how. But so any COP dollars that have been spent, I have accounted for. So I think I have Hastings here. It's Hastings Drive improvements, 19,000 or whoops, no, you were there.
You're there.
Oh yeah, you can see it there too.
Yeah, you can see it there, but that's not the 2 projects. So I don't know if it got coded correctly.
You know, I may have misspoken and maybe we
I think you did Pago, Rena. I think we agreed to do Pago because we knew we wanted to add that project.
Well, I thought so too. And Michael and I chatted about it before the meeting because I thought the question would come up, but I mean, it's obviously not in the COP dollars, so it must have come out of Pago.
I mean, we're pretty good about following the list, like Matt said. And I think we talked about adding it because we knew we wanted to get those COP dollars spent. So we'll clear that up and bring it back next in September and make sure that it is added to the list once we get ready to bid it out. That's for darn sure.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, for bringing that up.
Kathy, you had a question on this?
Yes, I do. So I'm just trying to understand and looking at all the different tables. With the 7.1-ish million that we have left, we have several projects, and if I'm adding things up, it's more than the budget we have. So I don't know if someone can speak to that for me.
So the goal, we did that when we did our, we all met last year in December, and or, you know, before the end of the year, we said, look, if we're going to make December 2022, we've got to advance some projects. We got to advance design. We got to do something because we knew OCR was so difficult a project. And so that's what we did. And we knew that there was going to be this balancing act, that there would be some flow over into cash or into the cash reserves. So that's the intent is to, and that's why even with this budget this year, Kathy, for 22-23, you notice how we lumped it all together, and Al did that really nice job where he said, this is how much you have in COP dollars at that time. And then the rest of this has to come from cash. It has to be a transfer from cash because we wanted to make sure that everything was consistent, you know, with what we had planned to do. So you're right. It's like Dan says here, it's about 5 million over.
5 million. Yep.
If we did it all by the end of 2023, but we're not going to make it. I mean, 2022, I'm sorry, we're not going to make it. It's going to be by the end of 2023. So you'll see maybe something at mid-year, you know, if we do see the advancement of the spending, you know, happening a little quicker than we're projecting right now, you'll see staff bring back something in mid-year, you know, saying, hey, we need to, you know, we need to put this and we need to add this and that kind of thing to make sure that it balances out.
Okay.
And that you guys approve where the funding comes from.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good question.
So I had a question. So is there an actual additional cost to the district if we don't get all the money spent by the end of 2022?
No,
No. Okay.
that's why the muni.
It was
advisor-
just a goal.
It was a goal, and darn it, we tried. I mean, we
Right.
really are trying. I really do hope we can get as close as possible, but you know, it would look better that we get it spent, and then if the board decides and the staff, you know, presents another programming after the rate study presentation, then, you know, it looks better that we've already spent these funds, of course. So
Because I remember we had a discussion about something called arbitrage.
yeah, so we're not going to be subject to that. You know,
Okay.
our track record looks good. And that's why Bud came here last year and made that presentation. And just the fact that it's very fluid, how we've been spending it and all these public reports. And, you know, Dan is our dissemination agent as well, you know,
Mhm.
along with Bank of Trust, you know, our trustee bank, you know, all this coordination, it's just all very publicized. So the lenders are very well aware of it. When he files his report, you know, they can go to our active website, they can see all the requisitions, they can see all this reporting. So
Okay.
Bud said we'd be okay. And I did just recently talk to him a few weeks ago and said, oh, we're going to have to go over to 2023. He goes, you're fine. Don't you have some reimbursements you can make to yourself? And I said, no, we just need to stay on track with what we're doing and get OCR built. I mean, we really need to get that constructed.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
If I may, just to mention that when would arbitrage kick in then?
Oh God, Lewis.
Oh, sorry.
No. It would kick in if you're earning, help me out, guys. If we earn more interest on the money sitting in the bank and we weren't building projects. Okay, that's
Oh
when
my God.
arbitrage reporting would happen.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does have to do with interest
It
rate.
would be it would be required after a 5-year period, and Bud says we're nowhere near that. Like I said, because we've got this proven track record of spending. I mean, look at Dan's
Yeah.
report right here.
Yeah.
All these finalized projects, right, and all of his, you know, reporting that he does as the agent,
Yeah.
you know, shows the
Obviously,
lenders
yeah,
for spending
because
it.
we got that money to do projects, not to
Exactly.
be financial investors.
Yeah, Dan say I remember Dan sharing with me some, you know, clients of his that they've been sitting on millions for years, you know, and we're just not that way. We've been very active about getting these projects completed.
And we've also been in a few years of COVID too, so that kind of probably has delayed a few.
It did a little bit, but we did kind of move right through there. Our contractors loved working during COVID because no one else was out there. So it was helpful.
Okay. Any other questions for staff or Dan? I'm not seeing anything.
Thank you, Dan. And we know you want to get out of town, so thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure.
Would someone like to make a motion?
It's just a report to receive,
Report, yeah.
President Wheeler.
It's
Yeah.
just a report.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Thanks again, Dan. We'll see you in 6 months.
Bye, Dan.
All right, thank you, Dan.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
so item 7B, resolution regarding Old County Road water main replacement task orders.
So does Director Schmidt want to bounce off of this now? And then I'll text you, or do you want to hear the report first and then bounce before the vote? Wait, you're muted.
Sorry, I thought I had unmuted. 7B is okay. I will recuse for 8A.
Okay, all right, good. Thank you for that clarification. Go ahead, Rena.
Okay, thanks. So we were just talking about capital projects and Old County Road, and this one being one of our most complicated and challenging. You know, we've been working with the cities of San Carlos and Belmont, San Mateo County, and then even Caltrans on this particular project of all things. And so it's just taken a lot of coordination. We've had several iterations of plan reviews and so on. And we're almost there. Like I said, right now, the project is in for a look and review by the state's Division of Drinking Water to make sure that if there are any conflicts, have we explained enough as why there's conflicts, why we can't maintain a separation between our proposed pipeline alignment and maybe some existing sewer main or storm drain main or something like that. And because of that and the potential of there being some requests to make changes, we're just asking the board that we allow task orders issued to the district engineer and Four Leaf, who is the firm that we hired for a constructability review. And also we intend to negotiate a contract for Four Leaf to be our construction manager and construction inspector for this particular project. So anyways, we're asking for the board to approve a couple of task orders, $8,000 for Four Leaf and $15,000 for Packport Consulting Group, so that as we get to the finish line for the plans and specifications, we have the budget to pay them to help us make sure that the project's reviewed. It's within our standard specifications and desires for a project and for constructability, because again, this is going to be a nighttime job. And so that's the story. Any questions the board members have, I'll try and answer them for you.
I'm not seeing any raised hands.
Kirk,
Yes.
so Rena, when we do nighttime jobs, you said it's more expensive because don't they kind of shift from night to day? That's or is it that there's some kind of a premium pay?
There's a premium pay, but what we're finding out is that the contractor, because there's less traffic to have to deal with and people mill about that are working in the stores along Old County Road, the contractor is more than likely going to be more productive, meaning that they will be able to construct more pipeline at nighttime than they would during the daytime.
So they move quicker.
Yep.
But obviously, nobody
there's a
wants
cost. There's a premium cost for them to mobilize at night.
It's not a desirable time to work, so he'll be hard pressed to find workers willing to work at night. So
I mean, you see it all. Caltrans has contractors working on 101. I see them all the time.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's unusual in the Bay Area just because of all the traffic.
Correct.
And as all of you probably know, Old County Road is a heavily trafficked road during commute hours in the morning and in the evening. So these people will start work, after 5 o'clock, or actually I think like at 8 o'clock, and then work till about 5 o'clock in the morning. They won't work on Friday nights or Saturday nights, or Friday night, Saturday morning, and then Saturday, Sunday morning. But they will start work early, Monday morning, and a little bit on Sunday. That'll be the schedule. At least that's the intent right now.
Yeah.
I do have one quick question, if you don't mind. Is there, just on the amount, is there a reason that this isn't on consent? Because it doesn't reference existing agreements that we're amending. Are these just task orders on existing contracts, or?
Well, it does show that in the task orders that the board had previously approved an agreement with Four Leaf for almost $25,000. So this is adding to that. If you look at page 68, and
sorry, I didn't.
Page 69, it referencing previous amount that the board had approved for Packport, almost $70,000. So it's adding to some existing worker contracts that the board had approved previously.
I'm sorry, I didn't study the actual task order. I was just reading the text. I missed the fact that there was another agreement.
More clear.
No, it's all good. Now I understand. Perfect. Thank you. With that, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Kathy second.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready for a roll call vote?
Yes.
Director Zuka,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Vice President Bella,
Yes.
President Wheeler.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
And I will go ahead and drop off.
And Brian, I'll text you when we get finished, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Rena, are you ready for this
Yep,
one?
sure am.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is a resolution 22-19 authorizing a water service agreement between the district and a development at 815 Belmont, actually 815 Belmont's called, but it's actually at 815 Old County Road. It's the old skating rink. People remember that. Brent had been working with these people for a number of months now. And so we're finally there. And it's for the construction of 177 multifamily units. They are going to not only install 3 2-inch water meters for domestic services, but also a 2-inch irrigation service. And you see it kind of captured here on this first page. There's also going to be 2 service system taps, one for fire, one for domestic purposes. And actually the developer is getting a credit for having an existing service on this property. All told, when we total up all the costs for the service connection, it's a little over $1.2 million. And so the water service agreement captures all of this. It's the form of the water service agreement that we have been using the last few years for such developments. The only caveat I will say there, if you go to page 82, you'll see there's a section 12, and this is something that we added, and Brent and Tammy and I and Julie Sherman worked on this language here. And it talks about district regulations, because if you kind of follow what I was talking about, these multifamily units aren't going to have individual meters. But what we're saying here, that in the future, depending on what the district it does with regards to, ordinances or rules or regulations and how we provide service, if these folks decide that they want to, make them condominiums or, sell them out as individual properties, they're going to have to comply with whatever rules and regulations the district has at that time. And at least the current board has told us that if, there's going to be condominium units, you need to have individual water meters for each of these units. And so it says that, they will comply with the district's rules and regulations over the next 50 years from the date of the execution of this water agreement. So this is different language that we put in here. And yesterday, Tammy and I met with board member George just to kind of go over the agenda for her and to see if she had any questions. And we made sure that she understood this. And I told her that we were surprised that the developer, didn't raise a question about that, because it was just something that I think is maybe they might have been a little bit onerous or something like that. But we didn't have any kind of pushback or discussion with the developer. So going forward, at least for the time being, and when we have developments that are multifamily units, we're going to put this language in there unless the developer agrees that they want to put in individual meters for multifamily units, which I don't know. I think that would be kind of hard. I don't see them doing that, but we're trying to catch it with this particular language in there. So that's the story. 177 multifamily units on Old County Road. It's a $1.2 million connection fee to the district. There's some new different language in the water service agreement, just in case these people ever decide in the next 50 years that they want to convert the apartments to condominiums. This will kind of stick out and say they've got to follow the district's rules with regards to water service up until that time.
Louis, you had a question?
Comment. Quick comment. Yes, thank you. Rena, so these are apartments. Okay, I understand that. So the water is going to be paid by the association, I imagine?
Whoever owns or manages the apartments.
Correct. So if this were to transfer to condominium sometime in the future, would that be part of the sales agreement? Because if it isn't, and nobody knows, it's going to be one of those, oh, I had no idea that that's extra cost, because putting in a meter today is expensive. Putting in a meter 25 years from now or 30 years from now,
right,
is going to be a lot more expensive.
Oh yeah, retrofitting a building, whatever, for individual meters. But we don't know what the technology is going to look like 50 years from now either, right?
No, but regardless of what it is, water, somebody needs to have water inside the place where they live. That we know. So how do you ascertain that the buyer is going to know that there is this extra cost?
Yeah, well,
You could record this.
Yeah, we've talked about recording the document.
right.
So, in San Mateo County.
And with the county, so if somebody does a title search or something like that, they will see this
Okay.
document come up and, you know, as they read through it, they're gonna see that section 12. You know,
That's
it's gonna
fine.
catch
That's,
their
if it's gonna be recorded, then the title company should, or whoever is doing the research on it, should be able to find it. So that was determined already, that it's gonna be recorded, right?
Yeah,
Okay, all right. In that case, then we're not creating problems for whoever is gonna come after us. But, okay, hopefully.
You had something, Matt?
Yeah, what's the on the between the capacity charge and the water demand offset? What's the breakdown? Do you know how much of that is water demand offset?
you know, Matt, I don't know off the top of my head, but I could get that information and share it with the board.
Yeah, I'm just curious. It'd be interesting to see how much money we're collecting on capital capacity versus how much we're collecting on supply.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we were
Is
pretty.
it in the agreement, Rena? I think
I
it's
don't,
in
I-
the-
is it, I don't- I don't-
No, it's lumped together in the agreement
yeah,
too.
I think Brent had just lumped it together.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, but we
You
do
can't
separate it
anticipate all
out.
my questions.
Yeah, I know, but you know what? I thought it was broken down in the agreement, but I guess not.
Unless I missed it, that's possible. There's a total due.
I don't see
Instantly.
it
I didn't
broken
see
out.
it.
I don't see it broken out, but you know, I could figure that out or find out, and then I can share it with the.
Yeah, he has a
board.
spreadsheet.
Yeah, it would just be interesting. And then I think the other thing was, I think Lewis's question got to it. I do think it's probably a little too late. Maybe we should have done this a year or two ago. This whole multifamily individual metering thing is, it's been a decade probably since we last policy wise sat down and looked at that.
2015, 2015. It's
Yeah.
coming though, Matt. You're getting it.
Close. I was rounding up.
One of the things I admired about Brent is Brent would just come into my office at the time and he would just always go, when are we going to require individual meters for all development?
Right. And we required it on condos for a very specific reason. And I like the language in here and the fact that it's being recorded, because that was going to be my very question. And how are we going to know?
Yeah.
Right. How are we going to know? Sounds like a TikTok thing.
And you remember,
so.
that when Julie and I really worked, and Brent too, on the darn ordinance, right? The water service ordinance, we wanted to have this whole rental connotation at the time now, back in 2015. But you're going to hear about it again because we've got some draft water service regs. And so you're going to have some options as a board.
Yeah.
Be ready to bite that off.
I do think it's time for us to revisit that. It's been a while. And I think a lot of people probably remember when we did that because there were a couple of big developments going in at the time of 50 units or something ginormous like that.
Yep.
And we got a lot of heat for that ordinance as it was. But I thought that, and I didn't realize that those are condos, and I guess they were. It's been a while, obviously. So I do think it's probably worthwhile. I like the fact that the language is in there that we will require individual sub-metering if it goes down that route. But is there any, I guess the question really that I have is there any reason that we shouldn't be doing this as a matter of policy going forward on all multifamily?
I mean, I'm committed to making sure that we bring this discussion before I get out of here. Okay. Because I have the institutional knowledge, right? Back to the, 2012 at least in these discussions. And I think with the whole, extended drought discussion, it's timely. You remember when we did this in 15, we were right at the drought and we were just like, hey, there's a drought, and we were able to use that, right?
Yep.
It's justification. So I think it is time, and I'll make that commitment that, Monique, I have to give her credit. She kind of pulled it all together and got it in a good draft format. And that's the biggest issue is the service connections and how we're going to address individual metering. So thanks for bringing it up. I think it's going to be a lively discussion.
Great. Thank you. That's it.
Kathy, did you have something?
Yes, just a comment. I did meet, as Rena indicated, I met with him and Tammy yesterday, and I just wanted to say it out loud again today. I did ask the question, since this is a new development, about separate pipes for if we ended up using reclaimed water at some point. And they explained to me, and maybe Rena or Tammy, you could re-explain, because I think it's important for the public to know that we're thinking about these things and with new developments. And I didn't want our private conversation yesterday and prepping me for the meeting not to go unheard, that we are thinking about the fact that we might have to use reclaimed water at some point, because of the drought. So Tammy or Rena, can you just re-explain why it's not cost effective for us to do it at this point?
Good, thank you. She brought it up, and she doesn't have the history of talking about purple pipe water, right? And that's recycled water. And just the biggest project that we knew, and this board has talked about, maybe not all the board members, was the sports complex that the city of Belmont owned, who recently converted all of that to turf in the past few years. And then we just explained to Director Jordan that, she's right, that, that purple pipe is a whole totally different transmission or distribution system, and it has to be connected to a treatment plant, right? So it would have to be connected to the recycled plant. The closest one is in Redwood City. So we had evaluated years ago the cost for that largest property, right? That the one that was the largest water user at the time. And we just thought about the construction costs at the time. We talked to the city, and of course the city was like, oh, we don't have that money in our budget. And of course, we as the water district, we had a large capital program, right, that we were working on. So it was about priorities. And we've talked about the PrEP project, or the potable reuse project. To me, and I think there's a couple of directors here, that's the path, that's the chart, right? Is really reconsidering how to reuse the water and restore it back to domestic use compatibility. So it was a good question. I like it because you're right. We want to be thoughtful about these new developments and don't want to be criticized for not trying to consider. But most of these multifamily buildings too, they're lot lines, like, right? They're little tiny landscapings, or just like within little raised bed type situations, because they're right there in the Caltrain corridor. So thank you, Kathy. And I think it is good that it be brought up publicly too. So Brenna, did you want to add?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay.
Okay. So it looks like we're ready for a motion.
I'll move. So I'll move to consider resolution 2022-19, authorizing a water service agreement between the Mid-Peninsula Water District and CP 7815 Belmont LLC for a multifamily development located at 815 Old County Road in Belmont.
I'll second.
Okay. Are we ready for a roll call vote?
Yes.
Here we go. Vice President Bella,
Yes.
Director Zuka,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Schmidt. Oh, yeah,
Absent.
excuse himself. And President Wheeler.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 4-2. I'm not sure if it's 1 or 0.
4-1, right?
Oh, 4-0.
No, 4-0.
4-0.
Yeah, 4-0.
4-0.
Let me text him real quick and let him know it's time. All right, 1 second, stand by. Come back.
Monique, you want to go to page 89? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hold on, I'm admitting him now.
You have to admit people to this meeting?
Yeah. Everybody gets admitted. There's no passcode. We just, Zoom makes you admit everybody. You have to go to a waiting room or a passcode. And I don't like the passcode thing. I'd rather just admit, right?
I was not sure how we were managing the public meeting as well.
Yeah, no, so I have to admit everybody. Okay, Brian, let me see if I see Brian.
Right
I
There you
see
go.
Brian.
All right, Brian, welcome back. All right, go ahead, Brennan.
Yeah, so this item is another water service agreement. It's a resolution 2022-20, authorizing a water service agreement between the district and the Belmont Firehouse Square property. It's for a townhouse development at 1399 Fifth Avenue here in Belmont. And so this is the other part of the Firehouse Square development. It's 15 single-family residences or townhomes or townhouses there off of Fifth Street. So again, you see the summary of the fiscal impact of the district. It's a little over $200,000 in water connection fees and the cost for service connection taps and and any inspection and those types of things. And what I can do with this and also is break out the water capacity charge versus the offset fee, and I can send that to the board in an email here in the next few days. The only difference between this one and the one the board just heard was, again, these are 15 single family residences. So each one of them is going to have their own individual water meter. And so there's not much else in regards to that. If the board has any questions, I'll be glad to try and answer them, or Tammy and I will try to answer them for you.
I was just going to add that both these projects, these developments, hold on one second. There's a David Yang wanting to enter. He may
Oh,
be
he's probably one of the developers.
All right, so stand by. Let's let him come in. But both of these revenue sources were not in the budget, right? You know, we just put little placeholders for capacity fees and water demand offset. So these will be additional revenues that will come in this fiscal year, 22-23. So stand by. Mr. Yang has joined the meeting. I just didn't know which development he was with. He was with the Old County Road or this one on Firehouse Square. We're on the Firehouse Square development. Mr. Yang, are you here to represent that development?
Yes, actually.
Okay, so the board before,
timing.
yeah, perfect timing, actually. So before the board, I'm Tammy Rudot, the general manager, and our operations manager, Rena Ramirez, just outlined the staff report for the board of directors. You see it up on the screen. If there's anything that you wanted to add before the board takes action on this item, feel free to do that.
No, just really excited to move forward with the project. If there's any questions or concerns, happy to answer them.
Thank you for attending tonight. Back to you, President Wheeler.
I am seeing Matt has a question.
Yeah, I got it. Sorry, I didn't clicked too fast. If you could also break down the capacity charge and the water demand offset on this one, and then I think maybe just going forward, because I'd also be curious to see. I know our water demand offset is kind of tiered based upon what stage we're in. So I think it would be handy as we're going through these to see how that's tying into, you know, where are we on that? Are we at the 25? I can't even remember what they are. 25, 50, 75, 100%.
Yeah, that's a great question,
That's right,
Matt.
the offset, yeah.
Yep.
You know, based upon where we are on our water shortage contingency plan. But no, I don't have any other questions. Looks pretty straightforward.
This is pretty straightforward compared to the other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lewis?
Yeah, that was going to be, I just wanted to make sure that I understood that each unit is going to be individually metered, correct?
Yeah, they're single family residences, so they each have their own service connection.
Okay, so this is kind of run of the mill. Okay, all right, good.
Okay, then we're ready to entertain a motion, I believe.
I'll make a motion again to
I'll
approve.
second.
Okay, and we're ready for the roll call vote.
Yep.
Please.
Director Zuka,
Yes.
Bella,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
and President Wheeler.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
So Mr. Oh, did he already leave?
No,
Oh,
he's
Mr.
still
Yang,
there.
you're here. You got in right in town. This has to be the shortest public meeting you've ever attended, isn't it?
It's amazing. Thank you guys all so much.
That
you're
was
welcome.
brilliant.
Thank you. for coming.
Congratulations.
Good luck on the development.
Yeah, we look forward to bringing 15 more townhomes to Belmont. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on, we have
Page 108, Monique.
resolution 2022,
Oh, my turn.
number 21.
All right, so this is an item the board is used to seeing. This is the final year of the bargaining unit, the Mid-Peninsula Water District Employee Association's living wage adjustment. So you'll see here in the fiscal impact section that, and I should just say every year for let's see, August 1st, right? Yeah, August 1st, the first full payroll period, the board considers the living wage adjustment for the bargaining unit. And we also include the unrepresented employees as well. So this year, I've even attached the Bureau of Labor Statistics report. It was 6%. You know, we presented this last month to the Finance Committee. Actually, we've talked a couple of months about this because one of the things that we moved forward and the committee supported was not only do we do the range per the bargaining agreement, but we also give salary increases to all the employees. It's less than, it's the 4%. So the 6% gets added to the salary ranges. And the second action that you'll be taking tonight per this resolution actually grants the employees a 4% raise effective the first full payroll period. Now, we toggled that with them converting to biweekly payroll because we've been trying to get everybody on biweekly payroll because we want to get that all instituted and in place before we move forward with the implementation early next year of our own payroll system within Springbrook. You'll remember during the budget discussions, we talked about that. So this is going to be very helpful in order to get that. So the bargaining unit met and they wanted the raise and they agreed to transition to biweekly. So you see here on the page that Monique has up that the total costs, the represented employees is 62,000 rounded. And that one unrepresented employee is about $6,000. So it's a total of $68,000 for the cost to give the employees the raise. Monique, if you'll scroll down, there were management had already negotiated contracts in place that were effective August 1st. And so there was no consideration at this time, you know, they'll be eligible for merit increases just as well as the employees. So I think I've already discussed everything here on this page. So you'll see scrolling down, Monique, the beyond the resolution, I also attached the BLS. You'll see this chart right here. Oops, let me show the BLS. This was, you see here, what we take is it's a fiscal year analysis. We scroll up just a tiny bit, Monique. I like the, yeah, no, scroll up. Down, I'm sorry, down. I'm so used to doing this. Okay, you'll see the table. No, I want to look at that table right there. There you go, that 10-year table for the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is the high, these were the highest 2 months calculations. And we take, you know, for a fiscal year, the last half of last year and the first half. And then I also do the math for each quarter or, you know, each 2 months, I'm sorry, to come up with that 6.0. So that was the other reason why talking to the board finance committee that we thought it prudent to move forward with giving employees a 4% raise. Scroll down, Monique, as required by our compensation plan and by CalPERS is we have to have these salary schedules posted to our website, and we give these to all employees as well. You'll see I added the column. So it's the last year here of their 4-year agreement that shows the 6% expansion of their salary ranges. This year, you'll notice that I put the hourly rates. That's because these employees are hourly employees. And so we just want to make sure that it's, you know, clear. So you see it yearly and a monthly and an hourly. Continue to go down, Monique, I'm sorry. This is the second page of their salary schedule and one more. I think that's it on this item. Unless there's one more, is there one more slide? This is the unrepresented group, which really it just amounts to the accountant and the CFO, okay? Because again, the administrative services manager, we bargained with Monique to bring her on board. She starts full-time tomorrow, comes out of retirement and reinstates to serve the district, to continue to serve the district. And then we expanded those salary ranges for, we still expanded their salary ranges and her starting salaries within that. And then the ops manager, because we'll continue to keep that position. So with that, unless there's any questions, we ask that the board approve this action. And we thank the Mid-Peninsula Water District Employee Association. I don't know if Michael's still on. I know he's been extremely busy, but he was able to get a meeting together with the employees and discuss this and the org changes. And they accepted them. They accepted this raise and the move to biweekly payroll. So that's it, unless there's questions.
I don't see anybody. Oh, Louis, you.
Yes. Tammy, I don't know if you could calculate this, but I know that we've been trying to go to the can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Because the screen went bye-bye. I don't know what
Oh.
happened here.
I see the screen. Does everybody else still see the
Yeah,
screen?
yeah, I
Okay.
see Louis, I see everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, for a second, it's when I had another something else. Anyway, but I know we've been trying to work on that bi-weekly, and you said that it will be so much better if we would do it that way. Was there any financial gain
Yes,
doing that?
yes,
You could
yeah.
calculate it. Was that
Yeah.
calculated at all?
It was, I mean, so going to one payroll means that we won't have to pay for 2 cycles with ADP. We currently use ADP as the payroll service provider. So there will be savings in there. I can't estimate, but I'm going to guess around $24,000, $30,000 a year, because I think it's like $500 each payroll. Okay. And there were 2 for the semi-monthly, while there's 26 for all of us. There could be, you know, some different costs because now there's more of us in the biweekly. I don't know that exact number. Stay tuned at mid-year. And we can figure that out. Okay. Once we make the transition, it's a
Yeah.
lot of work. It's a lot
If
of work.
that's, if that's, I mean, I'm not looking for accurate figures, you know,
Yeah.
but if that's in the ballpark, that's
Yeah.
significant. That's,
So it helps to contribute to, you know, these raises. And then the other thing is staff efficiency.
yes,
It's just almost a full-time job to stay up
Half-time
with these.
too, yeah.
Yeah. So it's really going to help that, you know, everybody's going to be on the same payroll cycle.
Mhm.
So thanks for asking that question. I should
Right.
have put that in here.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? Then we may be ready for a motion.
Need a motion? I don't know. Somebody else want to move? Okay, I'll move. I'll move resolution number 2022-21.
I'll second.
And we're ready for a roll call vote?
Yes?
Okay, Vice President Bella,
Yes,
Schmidt,
Yes.
Director Zuka,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
and Wheeler.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Okay. So item 8D, reorg.
Yeah, here's the biggie. This is one of the most challenging staff reports I've ever had to do, because it was just trying to make sure that I put it in the right order, right? And making sure that everything got included. And thank you to Julie and her team for reviewing with me and working on the reso and the contract and all that good stuff, because it's good teamwork to get this put together. First, you know, maybe I was negligent at the beginning of the meeting, and I want to apologize if necessary, but today was officially Kat Wolfing's first day at work. I don't know if she can be zoomed in with Monique. I see Monique's got her camera off. But I think she's still sitting in the boardroom with Monique. She's had quite a first day. But I should say welcome, Kat. Do you want to say anything? I apologize for not introducing you at the beginning of the meeting and saying welcome to you to the this your first official board meeting as a Mid-Peninsula Water District employee. So there she is. You see her now.
Yeah.
And
No problem. I guess we didn't realize that the owl video turned off, but so we've been sitting here the whole time.
yeah.
Yeah, so I just briefly just want to say thank you all so much. This is, been a great first day, a long first day to have a board meeting on the very first day. But everything's been wonderful so far, and I'm very excited to settle in, and there's a lot of interesting projects on my plate, and everyone's been so wonderful and welcoming. So
great. She got to start out with Rena and me going to our water management rep meeting at Filoli Gardens. Now, who wouldn't want to go to Filoli Gardens for a WMR meeting? Okay.
Oh, a field trip on day one.
Trip, man. And she's just like, I was like, what? I didn't get this, right? But it was lovely. I have to admit, I've never been there, and we haven't seen these people in years, man. It was awesome. Totally awesome.
not a bad way to start at all.
It really was a nice visit. And it was good to see everybody in person rather than all these virtual meetings we've had all these years with the WMRs. We're a large group, so it's just hard to find a place for us to meet. And we're meeting in Foster City, so it was really good to be together. So welcome, Kat. You'll have some really good exposure and experience in September. She knows she has a lot coming up, and we're happy to have her on staff. So let's talk about what we have on the table. The first thing came as a result of the board finance committee meetings in the past few months when we've talked about this general manager transition, this management transition. And so just right off the bat, in this fiscal impact section, if you can scroll up just a tiny bit, Monique, one question that came from them is, how much is this costing us, right? To have this overlap with me transitioning to position and, the projected appointment of Rena into interim GM and bringing Kat on board. Okay, so that there can ultimately be this transition after this 12-month period for the board to consider, promoting up Kat. So in the fiscal impact section, you see that, you see what we had as 21-22 costs of $533,000 for Rena and me. And then you see in 22-23, the budgeted costs for me, Rena, and Kat, okay? And those are totaling $873,000. And that difference of that $340,000 is what that transitional cost is going to be spent by the district. It could go down some because, again, with my departure and retirement, there's projected cash outs. Who knows what they might be? We just have to be conservative and put them in there. You also note that I said, we added a couple of months because goodness knows my planned retirement is April 1st, but we don't know. So we'd rather be conservative. So it should be a lesser cost. To be quite frank, I believe it'll be under $300,000 by the time that I retire. But I wanted to make sure that we started right out with that because the finance committee was interested in it and they asked me to share it with the full board at this meeting. So we start out with that finance news and then we move straight into the background. If you could scroll down, Monique. We move into just, the background about the compensation plan, which is an element and kind of an addition to the personnel manual. There have been, 2 reorgs here, in 2022, earlier this year, and then 1 in 2020. And we all are aware, and hopefully the public will be aware that this is a strategic planning element, action item for the succession planning. And it doesn't just include the management team. There's other positions involved, and we'll see that when I get down to the org chart. So let's go ahead and scroll down to the org chart if you don't mind, Monique, please. And this is what the tonight is about, and it's on page 122. This creates the position of interim general manager. It creates right under it to the right, the management advisor position. You'll see that I have succession plan under that, and I'll tell you why that's important. But that's the position that I will transition into. You see Kat's position as assistant general manager to the left under the IGM, and she's going to have reporting to her Jeanette Calabolas, who is the management analyst. That's why she has succession plan under her position, because she plans on retiring the same effective date as me next year. And we still currently have the water resources coordinator position vacant because we wanted to wait till Kat got on board so that she can help and participate in the recruitment for that position. The only other change from the current or the existing org chart is down where you see this one operations supervisor, which is Michael Anderson, you just heard from this evening earlier. And that's because Brent retired. There used to be 2 operations supervisors. After meeting with him, and Rena, and talking about, what the changes are going to be in operations, we converted the operations supervisor down to a lead operator because we wanted to balance out admin and operations and have one supervisor in each. So that's why you see a lead operator that's vacant, so that it provides an opportunity for the existing water system operators. And then below that, you see the water system operator, Ron Leifner's position that has succession plan, so that you see these succession plan positions will not be here next year. Okay, so after April 1st, you won't see the management advisor position. So, one of the things I'll help the management team do is bring a revised org chart, right near our retirements. You won't see that management analyst position under the AGM, and you won't see the water system operator that's there now. And the CFO, that's Al Labossiere, who's here tonight. He's already migrated out of the office and will be working remotely now more as we transition with the district treasurer, Sheldon Chabon, and his team. And I can only say that that's the only position, even though it says succession plan, that we still want to keep our eye on and make sure as we transition with the Siobhan and Associates team, that that's all going to work out for staff and for Sheldon and his team. So this is part one. This is the reorg, and I hope that it's representative of what we've discussed with the board. We definitely shared this too with the finance committee or the executive committee. I forget which one. And I'm going to stop here and just see if there's any questions so far on these two elements, the transitional costs for management or this org chart before I move forward. Okay, so let's move to the next item, which
Employee classifications, reclassifications.
yeah, so there's two. Let me just say before she scrolls, you can stop at that first one. So I put in the staff report about the operations manager, Rena Ramirez, leading the organization for this interim 12-month period as interim GM, and that's per the board's direction. I'll transition to management advisor into my retirement. Kat Wolfing, as I've mentioned, was hired as assistant general manager. Ren and I are going to work closely with me taking the lead on mentoring, coaching, just relationship building with Kat. And then, you know, the plan is that Rena would return to operations manager after the 12-month assignment and the board's consideration of a transition of Kat to general manager. So these two new classifications, and I've already mentioned about Monique coming out of retirement, yay, to work as a full-time administrative service manager. That's going to be so helpful. And we were able to meet with the staff today and just say, hey, you know, congratulations, we've got a fully staffed management team. And the two classifications next, Monique, are the one for assistant general manager that covers Kat's position. These were created with Coffin Associates more than a year ago. And then the management advisor, which is the next one, with the help of district council, we took the general manager position classification and basically just changed some wording in there to make sure the management advisor. So I'm not giving up any, you know, I'm giving up the general manager job, but I'm still here to advise for that. And then we already spoke earlier about there's no other new classifications. The rest of the employees classifications will remain the same. I already told you about meeting and conferring. Oh no, meeting and conferring. So they had two items on their plate, the employee association. One was the previous agenda item we just talked about, which actually was a bargaining issue. This one was a meet and confer where they took the org chart and they said, does anyone have any issues on impacts that they feel the members might have with regard to this? And they did not. So I want to make sure, you know, they formally responded. They had no problems with the reorg and the transition. The last item is, or not the last, the next to last is the appointment of Rena Ramirez as your interim general manager. So that includes that. This resolution is just loaded with goodies. And as I said, he'll be responsible for the day-to-day operations per the direction of the board. And that will become effective on Monday. Rena's done a really good job actually transitioning in this past week or two. I think he's just really stepped up into the leadership role. And I think the staff has noticed that as well. And I wish him every congratulations in taking over the day-to-day. And then I put in that, you know, all the things that the board has negotiated with him. And then my transition to management advisor, you'll see, scroll up just a little bit, this salary schedule. There's a salary schedule before this one, again, required and working with district council, thank God, that shows that the assistant general manager was added to the represented, the unrepresented. Right, there you go, to hers and to this one. And then scroll up. The district council designed this general manager and management advisor salary schedule, which just worked out so perfectly so that we're combined on one. These are also, like I said, PERS requirements to have these posted on the website, especially those of us who are close to retirement. And then I think that's it, right? Monique, no, my 8th amendment to my employment agreement. So all that's changing in here is from me migrating from general manager to the management advisor. Everything else stays the same, my salary, benefits, and contract benefits that I've had. And then I think that's it, right, Monique, after the contract? I know it's a lot in one agenda item, but I just tried to order it. And again, Julie, thank you and your team, Liz, and all of them for helping out with all these specifics and the details. So I'm available, Julie's available, any of us are available for questions regarding this reorganization and transition.
I don't, oh, Matt, you've got your hand up?
Yeah, I was just going to say that thank you, Tammy, for putting this together. I guess, Rena, congratulations. Maybe prematurely, I'm not sure the board hasn't voted yet, but I have high hopes for you and it being successful. I look at these costs, and while they look substantial, this is such a critical moment for the district, and we have the reserves to make this happen. I think that this is kind of the Tammy, sort of kudos for all the planning, and it's a long agenda item for, I think it feels like a year and a half or 2 years worth of work to get to kind of this moment. But I think, goodness, I mean, we're going to have overlap and continuity, so no, I'm really pleased with all of this and the effort that it took to get here, and happy to spend the money to make this transition happen. So thank you for all the work.
Yeah, thank you, Matt.
Kathy?
Yeah, I just want to echo Matt's comments. This is probably one of the most important things we can do, and we want to make sure we get it right. And so sometimes you need to spend a little money and invest a little extra time to make sure that we don't, kind of make a mistake, because it's easy to just let someone go and then just throw someone into the deep end. But I do really feel like there was a lot of thought involved in putting this succession plan together. So I do want to thank Tammy for really thinking this through. I thought from the very beginning, when she brought the succession plan, when I first started, over a year ago now, that it was really, really good business sense. So I appreciate that. And I don't want to be premature either, but thank you, Rena. Congratulations in advance. And we had a good meeting yesterday, and I thank you for helping me prepare for today as well.
Thank you, Kathy.
Brian?
I also don't want to be premature.
I think he's got the vote now.
We'll have to drive home carefully.
And yeah, this is it is not cheap, and it's worth it. So
Thank you, Brian.
So that's I'm happy to support it. Want to thank everybody for all their work, especially Tammy, trying to plan for something beyond her rather than just walking away. So really, really appreciate that.
Thank you, Brian.
And happy to have Kat on today on her first day as well.
Oh yeah, welcome, Kat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good team. We're looking forward to working together. And I could tell even today at the staff meeting, Rena led it, and I could just tell that, we've talked enough about it. We've provided all the update reports about all the hard work you guys did too during the recruitment process, that you could just tell that we knew this day was coming, here it is. And so, we've really tried to make it seamless and make sure that there's not any of this, oh my God, who is that person? And why are they here? Which also makes it a little easier for Rena and Kat, right? Trying to get together and leading this thing. So I love transition plans. I got to honestly admit to you, because it doesn't burden the existing staff. So while I'm here, if I were to leave tomorrow's my last day, and Kat, and everything I've done, it's like, oh my God, she's gone, so now it's like, okay, she's still out there. We can still go ask her questions. And so it's just helpful. It really puts a burden on the existing staff when we know now, with these two recent, with Candy's and Brent's abrupt retirements, that it really does put all this work and pressure on us. So I know we're all sounding like we're patting each other on the back, but I thank you, board. Okay. And we've made sure that staff knew about the support of the board of directors and how this works from the top and moves down through the organization to be supportive of not just Rena, me, and Kat and Monique, but the whole team, by making sure that you guys were, on top of it, and you were doing your part too. So thank you guys as well.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that also because I've gotten off pretty easy on some of that work. But Kirk and Lewis Executive Committee, that I want to rename the Kirk and Lewis Permanent Standing Committee. So, and then the Finance Committee as well. So anyway, thanks everyone.
Yeah, I wanted to thank Matt for being on the ad hoc committee, and Louis for stepping into the breach when Matt was away.
You can say it, sailing in Croatia, go for it, it's okay.
Okay, I wasn't going to say, yeah,
Still getting recorded.
right. So,
A quick comment.
sure.
I mean, what a lot has been said already, and it's all true, but this is primarily a result of good preparation from a long time. You do not come with a succession plan like this, and then you had, somebody who is in the kind of management group, basically operations, leave all of a sudden without any plan, and you come up with a succession plan that has every element in it that it should work. Tammy, I hope that when you start weaning away, you'll do it very, very slowly, and that you're there for the staff, because we all moved up in our career, and we would have loved to have somebody ahead of us who can. Yeah, I hate to say this, but there has to be some hand holding in the beginning, until people starting to take ownership of this, which I cannot imagine that it's going to take a long time. Both Rena and Kat are very capable people, and they have the support of the board, and so we're expecting that we will not have a blimp or a hitch in the succession. So all the best. Good job.
They're going to do a great job. Great job for the district. I know when I cleaned out the GM office and finished moving all the rest of the stuff out for Brenda to move in this week, I remember how filthy that office was when I started here in 2012, and just everything I had to do. So it feels good to transition and to know that it wasn't like that for him, and that it wasn't like that for Kat, so that she was able to really just hit the ground running, like she said today. So I'm looking forward to working with this team and with the board and the staff until my retirement. I'm a worker bee, and I'm not one that's going to be sitting around doing nothing, that's for sure. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you, guys.
So unless someone has any additional comment, we can go with a motion.
I'll make a motion.
If I can say something. Sorry,
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go.
Sorry.
Oh, Michael, I didn't know you were still here. You hung out, man. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to speak for the association just briefly. Many of the staff has been concerned about, Tammy retiring, what's going to happen, who's going to come in. We find out Rena's not applying for the position, and there was a lot of concern. And it's so awesome to sit here and listen to the board and management, appreciate each other and show that teamwork. And I just want everyone to know that staff is right there with all of you. We all feel very good about the direction that things are headed, and we're looking forward to working with Kat and continuing to work with Rena and Monique and Tammy, and things couldn't be better. So thank you.
Awesome, Michael. Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
sorry that I didn't acknowledge you, my friend. I didn't know you were still there.
That's
He's ready for bed now, Tammy.
Yeah, he's going to come in late tomorrow, right? Donuts tomorrow, Michael.
No donut for you.
And just so you know, I know I'm getting no donuts tomorrow. Darn it.
So
Okay,
you need a
Louis?
do you need a motion now, or you're still taking?
Director Zuka made the motion, needs a second.
Oh, okay, I'll second the motion.
And before you do your roll call, let me take care of the Brown Act oral summary that we need for, and this is whenever a local agency appoints a chief executive officer, general manager type position, you're just required to do an oral summary of the salary. And so for Rena's position, I just want to point out that it's an approximate 12-month position. at the annual salary of $205,000 plus negotiated benefits. And that takes care of the oral summary.
Thank you, Julie, for remembering that.
Then I think we're ready for our roll call vote.
Okay, great. Director Zuka,
Yes.
Vice President Bella,
Yes.
Director Schmidt,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
and President Wheeler.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
So congratulations now, my friend, Rena Ramirez.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I've been here now, going on 8 years, and it's been a great, group. The board has been really supportive of the general manager and the staff of what we do out here, and we're going to continue that. And, I'm glad to step in here, and then I'm going to work real hard to carry out the board's direction and also to help mentor Kat, because I'm looking forward to spending some time with her over the next 3 years until it's my turn to hit the horse and ride out into the sunset. But looking forward to working with Kat.
And I look forward to taking and lightening your load as we go. It'll be great.
Kirk, I just had one question.
Sure.
So now that it's actually official, I just wanted to ask the question if, will we be doing some sort of press announcement so that the public is aware, or?
Yeah, so we did do a draft, and I usually run those by the executive committee, the president. I'm happy to do it by the whole board, but we do have a little draft, very brief one that does show the transition, and we do want to put it out on the website so that no one thinks that I'm gone or gotten terminated for whatever reason, right? Or that we want to make sure that the presence of Rena taking the transition and that Kat has joined our team. So let me know what's the board's will. Do you all want to see it? It's very brief and it's really just in draft format. It's not going to be the pretty one like John. John has it already. And we've already internally reviewed it, but is there does the whole board want to see it, or do they want me to just share it with the executive committee, the board president, vice president, like I normally do with press releases? Well, I'm sorry, why am I speaking? I'm not the general manager anymore, sorry.
Not till the first.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So do you guys have a preference that you all want to see it, or just Lewis and, or I'm sorry, Kirk and Lewis?
I don't feel the need to see it. I just was wondering if we were going to do something.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are going to. So I'll work on that tomorrow, finalizing that. Good question, though. I'm glad you brought it up. We should have mentioned it.
Okay. Then we can go on to 8E.
That's me again, the monthly drought report, and then also the quarterly water conservation activity. So Monique, can you go down to the next page? And this was a slide that I believe I just brought and shared last month for the first time, but it's just one drought slide that talks about what's taking place in San Mateo County. And to be honest with you, this slide didn't change from last month. What I thought was interesting when I first showed this last month is on the far right-hand side, it's this is the second driest year to date over the past 128 years, which I thought was pretty interesting. But things haven't changed much. And then on the next page, Monique, again, just the drought map for San Mateo County. Basically, the entirety of San Mateo County is considered to be in D2 or the severe drought stage. The next slide, Monique, is just the California drought slide. This is for, this was taken on July 5th, 2022 to kind of show you where you're at. What I wanted to point out, because right after this one is the same slide, but last year. And so I want to focus on the current row up there. You see the D3 and D4 ranges, 60% of California is in that extreme drought category, and 11.5% is in that exceptional drought as of July 5th, 2022. The next page, Monique. And so you can see last year, a lot more of California was considered in that extreme drought, 85%, and 33% of California was considered to be in the exceptional drought. So actually, if you want to, pitch pennies about it or whatever, we're in a little bit better shape this year than we were last year in terms of drought stage. Next slide, Monique. And this is just that bar chart. I just thought it was interesting, just kind of giving you a historical presentation of the different drought stages over time. I don't want to spend too much time on this one, but I now want to go to the next slide, which is the reservoir levels. So I like these because, again, these are our water banks. This is where the water stored for California. And I like to focus on the larger reservoirs in the upper top left. Again, you got Shasta and Oroville. Shasta is the big reservoir for the federal system, and Oroville is the big reservoir for the California system. That's what we hear from the SFPUC staff. And this is for July 11th, 2022. So you see that Shasta is at 51% of historical level and at 38% of capacity. Oroville's at 63% of historical and at 46% capacity. And then over in the middle of this, on the right-hand side, is Don Pedro, which is the water bank for the SFPUC. And that one actually is not in bad shape, 77% of historical and 63% of capacity. And a lot of that, again, if you recall, Don Pedro is the water bank for the regional water system. So let's go down to the next slide, Monique. This is last year. This is July, around the same date, July 8, 2021. And so again, if you take a look at the top, Lake Shasta and Lake Oroville, they were in a lot worse shape. You know, Shasta is at 51% of historical capacity. Shasta last year was at 47%. So a little bit less, but when you're talking 4.5 million acre feet of water, that 4% is probably, you know, several 100,000 acre feet. And then same thing with Oroville. Last year, they were at 30% level or 38% of historical. Interesting, Don Pedro Reservoir was kind of close to where it was last year. You know, right now, 77% of historical and the 60% capacity. The one I always look at, I remember last year around this time, I drove by the San Luis Reservoir and I had never seen it so low. And so you can see there last year, it was at 30% of capacity or roughly about 600,000 acre feet and 50% of its historical, not looking good. But again, this year, I think those two rain events, they were pretty substantial that we had last October and last December, and they were very helpful in putting the state's water reservoirs in a lot better shape for the same period of time that we're in. So the next slide, Monique. Now just kind of showing the precipitation map. Again, this is a slide that Steve Ritchie shares at the water managers meeting, and you can just see we're in a very little precipitation pattern here in California, which is not unusual this time of year. We get some nice coastal fog when the temperatures get real hot in the Central Valley, but not a lot of rain. Next slide. And again, just kind of showing what the precipitation is like or has been. And what I want to point out is in the middle on the right-hand side, the average annual precipitation for the upcountry index, which is again an SFPUC metric. Usually rain is about 36.7 inches, but this year to date was 23 inches. So, I mean, you know, there's about a foot less rain in the upcountry 6-station measurements. And you can see where we lost a lot of that was during the months of January, February, March, where typically, you know, they expect to have 6-7 inches of rain and got very little. But you can see the two big storms in December and October. Next slide, Monique. And then the Hetchetchee precipitation, again, you can see the red line is the current water year. You see the nice big spikes in the latter part of October and the big spike up in late December. Then it just kind of has flattened out. We're below the 30-year median of that black line, but unfortunately above 1977, the worst year or one of the worst years on record for precipitation in Hetchetchee, and also better than 2021 last year, but far below 1983, which was a very wet year that, you know, I think a lot of us remember. Okay, yeah, the next slide, the Bay Area 7-station index. So again, this one, and what's interesting here, when you look at that average annual total and that year-to-date total, the year-to-date, we actually had just a little bit more rain here in the Bay Area year-to-date than we had on average. And again, it's very similar to the patterns that in October, December, you see the huge rain events, and then in January, February, March, very little to no rain, and got some rain in April, but here May, June, and July, just very little rain. Next slide, Monique. And then the current reservoir storage for the regional water system, the Tuolumne system's got roughly about 870,000 acre feet, which is about 71% of its maximum capacity. And Steve Ritchie pointed out that the water bank you see there and there, that row, the water bank currently has about 228,000 acre feet. And he was saying that the 40%, he goes, that's pretty low, you know, for a water bank. And again, I can recall, he didn't mention this, but I can recall him saying that they did a lot of work on the tunnel that goes between the Hetch Hetchy and water bank. And so they weren't moving any water towards the water bank. And I think that had something to do with it being probably a lot lower. But also there's the water rights, you know, the irrigation districts have their takeoff of that system and so on. So that I think has, you know, at least kind of got on his radar screen that the water bank is probably lower than he'd like it to be. And you're going to see when you compare the water bank to last year, you know, it's lower than where it was last year at the same time. But generally speaking, the regional water system, you know, we've got 72% of capacity, which isn't bad. And so if you compare it to last year at the same time, the next slide, Monique, you'll see that last year we were overall at about a 76% of capacity. So pretty close, not too bad. But again, if you look at the water bank on the far right-hand side for July 1, 2021, you'll see they had 309,000 acre feet of water in there. And this year is about 80,000 acre feet less in the water bank. But the other reservoirs had you know, pretty good volume stored in there. Next slide, Monique. And then the overall regional water system, the deliveries there, just kind of showing where we're at. 214 million gallons per day was the number that was back at the end of June, beginning of July. And you can see how that compares. 2022 is kind of in the middle between the very low of 2015, our really last major drought in the area. And then of course the high years of 2019 they have up there in 2020. So we're kind of in the middle. And again, I think I've mentioned this, Mr. Ritchie's always said that what he's hoping for us to see, or him to see, is to have that the regional water delivery number right around 210 million gallons a day. So we're close. The communities in the Bay Area really get it. And if you take a look at some of the information that even the state's posting, you know, the Bay Area is doing a lot better when it comes to water conservation than other parts of the state. Next slide, Monique. And then ours. You know, you can see here that when we compare the water that we've taken from the SFPUC system on June, for the month of June, for 2022 and 2021, we actually took 10% less water this year. And again, hats off to the customers. They're getting it, a messaging that we have been sharing with them. They're getting it. And I wanted just to kind of compare. So I just did a quick calc. So if you were to compare the 2022 water use to date with 2020, we're about 17% less in 2020, which is that blue, light blue line. If you compare us with 2013, which is that top hash line up there, it's a 27% decrease between 2013 and 2022's water during the month of June. And then 2015, well, we're just a little bit ahead of 2015. We're a little like 5% more water use in 2022 than a really bad drought year in 2015. Just overall in general, the residential per capita use has gone up a little bit. We're at about 72 gallons per day per person in the community. Next slide, Monique. And then this is just you know, cumulative total. This is the second month now where our water use in the month of June, our water use was 109,000 CCF. You can see our 5-year average was a little under 125,000 CCF. And the SFPUC's target tier 2 allocation for us was 118,000. So we were actually below that, which has brought us down to a little more than 22,000 CCF above the cumulative total of where the SFPUC would like us to be. But there's a change, right? When the state adopted their emergency regulations back in May, the SFPUC recalculated our tier 2 allocation. So there's been a slight drop. And so when you see us reporting out for July and August, you're going to see that that orange line is no longer 1.1 million CCF, but it's going to be less than that. I haven't calculated that figure out yet, but it's going to be a little bit less than that. So that's the information, or the target rate shoot for, and that's the information that we're going to be sharing with our customers to see, you know, if we can stay close to that. And again, this is still all voluntary. There hasn't been any mandatory demand that we hit a certain number every month. But even with that, you know, the customers here in our community, they understand water conservation. They try really hard to. Next slide, Monique. And then just a drought tracking slide, a table that the SFPUC shares, just kind of gives you an overall sense of how we're doing overall as a region. It's slowly, we've been doing a lot better in terms of overall reduction when we compare the 2021, 2022 volumes with 2019 and 2020. And then the next slide, we're getting near the end, just a snow melt. The snow has all melted. There's no more snow melt, no more runoff. And Mr. Ritchie confirmed that they haven't seen any or very little runoff into Hetch Hetchy system up there. So that's all done. And then the next slide, Monique, is just a Tuolumne River water that's available. So this is the water that's available to the regional water system after the irrigation districts and other water rights holders have taken their water. So to date, you know, SFPUC has been able to take 201,000 acre feet, and all this water goes into the water bank. This compares to last year, they had a total of only 57,000 acre feet that was made available to the regional water system. And so, you know, when you're thinking about how the drought for the state has shown itself, you know, where we are this year compared to last year, and even some of the reservoir levels, you take a look at the water availability that's to the regional water system. Last year's only 57,000 acre feet. This year it's almost 4 times that. So, you know, even as bad as it's been, it's a lot better than it was last year. And so we're all kind of keeping our fingers crossed that hopefully, you know, this winter we'll get some more rain. And then the last thing I have for the drought is just a story that Tammy found in the Daily Journal from a gentleman named Greg Wilson, and he has a blog. And so I just thought I'd share that with you. And basically, he's just telling the people who read this that, you know, we can make do and live a normal life by saving a little water. And, you know, in fact, my wife and I do things around our house to try and stretch our water use. And it's easy to do. It doesn't require a lot of hard thinking. And he called it no math involved. And I thought it was kind of a little funny take, but just, I think a good way of telling folks that it's not hard to conserve water. And there's just some common sense things that we can do in order to reduce our water use and make it a little bit easier for all of us as we try and work through the drought. So that's the drought report. If there are any questions, I'll try and answer. And if not, I'm going to switch gears to Jeanette's quarterly report just to kind of share some information there and then see if the board has any questions on her quarterly report. Any questions on the drought information? It's just the same stuff that you normally see, and we just try and keep it updated for you.
Yeah, if I may, Rena, just a quick comment. In August, okay, because right now school is out and many of our children and the families are traveling or away from the area. So August, we probably will be expecting some higher usage. Am I correct? Especially when school's open?
It could be. I'm trying to think of where.
And I'm talking about our Mid-Peninsula water, not everything else, you know.
Yeah, usually July and August, and just looking at the trends, usually in July and August, you go to 151, Monique, page 151, go up a little bit more. You can see that line chart, that line graph. There you go. So you can see typically July has been the month that we use the most water, then it just kind of starts slowly falling off the rest of the calendar year, but you never know. You know, I in my experience in other cities in the state, you know, July and August are typically the highest use months, and sometimes it is August, sometimes it's July. That depends on, I think, the weather, and then maybe again, I think you're right. The schools have an impact. You know, people start gearing up for schools and getting ready. That can have an effect. But overall, you see here that typically in July and August, July is typically a little bit higher, but you know, it could go the other way. We'll see what happens. We'll be sharing that with you.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
So in terms of Jeanette's report, she had a written report, but she wanted to share a few things that she thought were important for the board to know. And one of them is, you know, working with the city of Belmont and their parks department. They're the ones who take care of all the lawn spaces. And again, we're talking about like non-functional turf, and then where we could help them reduce some of their water use. And so we're going to be working with them on a turf replacement here at the little Hiller and Ralston Triangular Park. And we think that's a great place to do a demo out there because people are driving on Ralston all the time. It's right before you get on the 101 heading south. So we're going to start there with them on a project. Don't have any timing yet for that, but it's a site that they want to work on. So we think that that's a good place to start. And then in terms of the other non-functional turfs, school sites and commercial industrial, we're still working on that. We don't have anything to share yet, but we're trying to figure out how to do that. But there are some grant funds that we have through BOSCA that we might be able to use to encourage some of these customers into doing some sort of lawn be gone. They don't get, sounds like they don't get the same sort of benefit that the single family residents get, which is like the $4 per square foot, but there may be some incentives that might coax them along to move a little bit faster to try and put in or take out that non-functional turf. Our new report that we've got to submit to state, the annual water supply and demand assessment, we got that done and submitted on time. And with our level 2 of our water shortage contingency plan in effect, we were able to report to the state that we should have a slight surplus in our water supply. It's close to 3% surplus. So again, if we stay on top of that and work with our customers to try and minimize, system leaks and so on, and if we can stay close to what the SFPC is asking us, we'll be meeting our level 2 water shortage contingency plan and actually say that, we could come out with a slight surplus of water. She wanted to let folks know too that the Water Watch Incentives Program, that's the program to get people to get into the portal, have access to the portal. We've been trying to encourage them through little knickknacks and incentives. And so we've gotten 200 new customers to sign up. She didn't put down how many customers we have now, but I still want to say that it's less than 1,000 of our 8,000 customers that we have that are signed up to use the portal and to kind of monitor their water use at home. We're going to do some more relaunching of this later on this calendar year before it takes off. And then she wanted to make mention too that we've been doing some level 2 water shortage contingency plan marketing. There's going to be an article that's going to be placed on the web page, the home page for us. And there's also some information that's going to be going out or has gone out with the July 22 billing statements. And then she also mentioned that there's going to be a conservation corner. Where's this? A second editorial will be featured under the conservation corner. She has something here, NL. I'm not sure what NL is. She's using abbreviations, and I didn't ask her. And then there's going to be a banner that's going to be on Ralston Avenue that again just be talking about conservation in the district. So those are some of the things she thought were important to point out. But are there any questions that the board has regarding her report? She was just kind of sharing some of the rebate program summaries and the outreach plan that we have for the water shortage contingency level 2. And again, she just talking a little bit about the Water Watch program and so on. So any questions of the board members of Jeanette's water conservation report?
And NNO is National Night Out. Is that what you
Oh,
were
National
talking
Night. Well, she forgot the other end.
Yeah,
National Night Out.
NNO, she didn't put a no, but this year, because they're not going to have one at Carmel Shopping
Carmel.
Center, we're going to be cited at the library,
Right.
and Rena, Kat, and Monique will be there with Jeanette,
Jeanette,
and
yeah,
whoever's on call will be there as well. So we'll be well represented at National Night
We're
Out.
going to have our model out there. If some of you have seen the water system model that we've had for 20 years that the kids love, and we have the educational thing here, that model we're going to take out to the library, have it out there. And I'm sure that's going to attract the attention of people who have not seen it, because it's a really neat scale model of the district.
Did they share the reason why they're not going to have a national night out at Alameda? At,
Mary just said, Morrissey, she's reached out to us, I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and said they're just worn out. All the vendors and all the business owners. And so they just decided to take a break this year. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're all volunteers, right? When they,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we're all
I saw
volunteers
that,
when we show up. So.
on I think on 5th Avenue, 5th or 6th. So there's going to be some different nights, NNOs in different parts of the town, right?
So we've done that in the past, and it's a lot of work to be coordinated with all the other ones too. So
Yeah.
typically what Jeanette does is she puts together a display if we're asked And the city who coordinates it usually says, hey, if you guys can put together something, then we'll be at whatever the different neighborhoods. I don't know that that happened this year, Rena. Do you know if
I
she
don't
was
know,
asked to do
Tammy,
that?
or Lewis,
It-
yeah.
It
Even
seemed
if
a
it
little,
does,
yeah, it seemed
even
a
if it
little
does,
disorganized.
yeah, being at the library is probably the
It-
best
it is.
location, you know.
Yeah, they did ask us to join them at the library. The city did. So
Right,
that's where
yeah,
we're
so we're
going.
gonna be outside with the city of Belmont out in the public parking lot.
Yeah. All right. Right now, quick question on the lawn replacement program, because I was asked this question by people that I know that don't even live in our district, and they just fired the question. You know, I was at a wedding, and before you know it, people start asking you questions. But the question was that there are some people who are, you know, water conscious. You know, they don't wait for their water department or their city to tell them to conserve. They do that on their own. They've done it for many years, and some of them, one has a commercial property and the other one has a residential property, and they decided not to water the lawn, and so the lawn is gone completely. And then they asked me if they qualify. And I said, I don't know. I mean, somebody has to come and take a look at it first. You know, how do we do it here? If somebody did it on their own, and let's say the lawn has been dead for about a year, what do we include them in the lawn be gone program, or they didn't notify us, so it is what it is.
Yeah, it applies to residential customers the way I understand it, right, Tammy?
Yeah, and so, you know, just letting your lawn die, it is not lawn begone, right? It is about, you know, what are you doing to replace it and make it, you know, or to do something other than just letting it die. Like, we're not paying people to just let their yards die, right? So there are some parameters, but I will say this, that if people, you know, exchange their lawns for, you know, what's acceptable with native plants or, you know, materials, and they go, oh gosh, I forgot to apply. We use Google Earth. Okay, we've gone back and used Google Earth and said, what did it look like? You know, what's the date? Jeanette's always come in and try to, you know, work with the customers and do that. Okay, but just letting your yard die, I mean,
no, they figured that they let it die because they shut the water up, because
Yeah.
they did conserve water.
right,
They conserved a ton of water.
right.
You know,
But that doesn't, they don't apply to lawn be gone and say, okay, I don't have my lawn anymore.
Mhm.
They have to do something with it. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be major. I mean, I've seen them from
Right.
all experiences, right? But they do have to do something
Do
with
something,
it.
it's gotta be some sort of native or drought tolerant landscape. They just
You
can't
know.
leave the lawn vacant.
Mhm.
They've gotta do something.
It's not, it doesn't have to be expensive, you know, and all of that, but you know, it does go through that. And we
We'll be
do
glad
make
to talk to them
exceptions.
if they wanna, you know,
Yeah.
if they wanna
No,
reach out or you wanna.
they're not in our district, so
Oh,
they'll
That's
go
right,
to
you
their,
mentioned that.
they
yeah.
go to their district. Yeah. So
Yeah.
okay, good. Thank you.
Brian?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on that. I think and it very well could happen in our district, that if those people were to go and then install native landscaping on top of removing their dead lawn, presumably they would qualify, which wasn't actually the case of Valley Water. They wouldn't let people qualify because their lawn was dead. So I think
Right.
we have a better system here.
Yeah, we
Because,
do.
Putting
We-
in low water use landscaping is a permanent solution.
We've had to work on it over the years, you know, but again, we usually people are proactive and they come in and want to know what can they do and how can they help. And Jeanette's really resourceful in that area.
Great.
Okay, thank you. Oh. We have a Basca update.
Yes, we do. Thank you. That will be me. Yeah, we had the BASCA meeting on the last Thursday on the 21st. And we adopted a resolution, you know, declaring that the board meetings will continue to be held via teleconference to continue on. However, we are actually looking at the new civic center that has been built in Burlingame. And there is a very good chance that those who wish to meet in person, they can do that probably starting in either September or November meeting, one of those two. And there may be also a way how people can follow virtually, but apparently the place is not set up for that. So it looks like we're ready to start going back to in-person meeting. Okay, that, and then the boss accepted the amended conflict of interest code. What else? We approved the professional services contract to support member agency with water use efficiency legislation. Then we had the report from Steve Ritchie, which Rena talked about. It's basically the same report. And let's see. Then we talked about the approval of a contract to provide professional services contract to support the redesign and implementation of Bosca Water Conservation Database. And then we moved on to the CEO evaluation, and yours truly was selected to be on the committee for the CEO evaluation. And this is going to be different than we have done it in the past. They're going to do a 360, which would include also, thank you for this, because I pushed for it, the water management reps. So the water management reps, you guys and all the GMs from the different agencies will get to put your input on the CEO, on Ms. Santkula, and also a 360 on with the staff, and also, you know, obviously the directors. However, the challenge with this is that the directors of Bosca, they interact with Nicole during the meetings and periodically when she visits their department or their district, or they have phone calls back and forth with her, but they're not in touch with her every day. So it's very, very difficult for them to actually formulate a constructive opinion about her performance. They do it solely the way, you know, from a policy standpoint, and the way she represents Bosca at the state level, which is extremely important, obviously. But this year, we're going to see how this is going to go. And we're going to have some input from staff and also from the water managers, which is great. And those are the notes that I took as the main thing that we did. The next meeting will be on September 15th. And for those of you guys who went to Filoli, I don't know if you want to add on to this a little bit more.
Brennan, did you want to say something?
Rena or Tammy or Kat?
Yeah, I mean, it was the first visit for me to attend Filoli, and I was telling Tammy and Kat that those of you who watched the movie, the Tom Hanks movie, A League of Their Own, the women's baseball league in the 1940s, there's that one scene where Tom Hanks and the owner of the chocolate, the candy guy, or whatever, he's got that huge backyard, you know, he's living in a mansion, I guess like in the Chicago area, but they're looking at this big, huge expanse. And it just reminded me a lot of the Filoli property, but it was interesting to hear that the difference. This wasn't a candy guy, it was a shipping family, a shipping magnate, but just beautiful garden out there. And when we got out there, it was a little before 10 o'clock and we had our little meeting, but by the time we left, or around 11:30, quarter to 12, the place was full. There were a lot of people attending the grounds and just taking advantage of a nice sunny day, beautiful day, and just a piece of history of the Bay Area that's just in our backyards that it seems like there's a lot of interest in it. And just the maintenance of what takes place out there and how they think about water conservation as well. They're next to Crystal Springs, and I can't think of the guy's name. Tammy, was it Alex? He was talking about the property, and there's like a square mile of land out there. It's like 650 acres. and 17 acres is the house and the garden and so on. And he was talking about how hard they try and how they're always thinking of how they can use water, more efficiently out there. Because when you go out there, you see a lot of lawn and a lot of garden, and it requires a lot of water. And so they're always thinking about that. But he goes, but we also know that there's a lot of just natural flora and fauna out there that we're not doing anything with. So we're thinking, well, maybe that's kind of offsetting what we're doing here. But it was just really beautiful. And to me, it reminded me a lot of Hearst Castle. Not quite the same thing, but just going inside the building and the architecture and the style of the rooms and the decor is to me very similar to what I've seen when I've gone to Hearst Castle a few times in my life. But just very beautiful historical facility here in the Bay Area, something to be proud of and to go out and visit.
And Bosca has a water kind of a presentation, a demonstration, if you will, and that we were there to support that as well. So it is there on site and for all the visitors to see, and it states, our uses, and, it was really kind of cool walking through every room. They found a way to, incorporate something about water. So it's there to be supportive of that. And it's just a good group. It was good to see everybody because we haven't seen them since pre-COVID. We too are talking at the water management level about, resuming in-person meetings. And so Kat and Rena will be attending next Thursday, their meeting. They're continuing their tier 2 discussions. And so we'll be in the background, quietly asserting ourselves as other agencies are doing, by the way. So it is quite interesting having been part of it. And now Rena and Kat will carry the torch forward as they continue the discussions about, what happens with water drought supply and water supply during a drought, and how is that going to impact each of the wholesale customers. So I thought it was cool, and I was really happy to be part of it today, for sure.
And I just wanted to echo the work that Bosca put into that kind of display and all the placards throughout the house and the grounds, I think was really well done. And if anyone has, the time to go explore Filoli, it's an interesting historic perspective on the value of water in the Bay Area, and the fact that really it's always been a fight, it's always been a struggle, and so it's it's nice to see that out in the community.
And they had some articles in there, like in the 1900 or 1901, folks in this area and on the peninsula were fighting over water rates. And at the time they were 24 cents, I think, a CCF. But since 1900, so nothing really has changed over, a century ago, more than a century. It's still just the same thing, that people are still fighting over water and the price of water.
Water is for fighting.
That's all from staff.
All right, thank you. That's it, Kirk.
Okay. Let's see. Go through administration. Did we cover the operations report?
No, it's my report, General Manager. And all I was going to bring up is just the special closed session that Rena is trying to schedule. I have put it in the report here that September 13th at 5:30. I confirmed with Matt yesterday that you're going to be available, Matt, at 5:30 on September 13th. You were the one that Rena hadn't heard from. So he's going to get that scheduled and put that time and send that calendar invite out so that everybody has that on their calendar for September. That's all for General Manager.
Okay. Administrative services.
I don't have too much to add. Just wanted to say that we did put the low-income household water assistance program flyer in for you to see as requested. And it's all, we're closing the year, as I'm sure you're aware, for the fiscal year 21-22. So if you have any missing timesheets and you could get them in to us, that would be really great. And I can take questions if anybody has a question.
I don't see any other questions. The operations report.
Rena, you're muted, my friend.
Yeah, you're right. Thanks, Tammy. On page 167, just the number of locate requests we had last month was 315, which is kind of typical of what we've been seeing. So we're busy just going out there and making sure that our facilities are located so that folks don't hit them unexpectedly. And then the last thing I just wanted to point out was on page 169. Hopefully sometime soon in August, we are switching uniform providers. So the guys, because they're all men out there in the back, there are no women in operations yet. But anyways, the guys out there thought it'd be nice to try something different. So we're talking with a couple of uniform vendors and they selected the one UniFirst. And so they hopefully are going to be starting sometime in August, and you'll see the guys in slightly different uniforms, something still tasteful, something that'll still show that they're Mid-Peninsula Water District employees, but just different than the uniforms that you've been accustomed to seeing them in the last 10 years or so. So keep an eye out for the folks out there working out in the field. That's all I have to report. I'll answer any questions if there are any from the board.
I don't see any raised hands. So district engineer.
Evening. Can everybody hear me? It's my first time speaking tonight. So good evening, everybody.
You're so patient, Brandon.
Oh, I find everything that we talk about is very interesting, especially Rena's drought updates. I really enjoy those.
Cool.
I love graphs and charts. Just a few updates on what we're currently working on. Harbor Boulevard, that project is nearly complete. The only thing we're waiting for is the Caltrans encroachment permit, which at times can be challenging to get response from them. We're hoping that we get response on our design plans here in the next couple weeks. The good news is that the Division of Drinking Water did accept our design, and similar to Caltrans, sometimes that can be a back and forth item as well. So we're under budget and on schedule, and we're hoping to get this project out August, September timeframe, with Caltrans being the permanent critical path. I'll skip Hastings, Vine, Belmont Canyon, to come to that, since that's kind of where we're going to talk a little bit more about tonight. And then as far as DeKalb, Lincoln, Newlands, Mont McDonald's is working on their 65% design submittal with a submittal date of early August. And then they're looking at CIP lining limitations. And unfortunately, their contact at AGN has been, I'm not sure if they haven't been responsive, but we're trying to get answers, or they're trying to get answers on how they can proceed with their design. So the big update on the engineering side is the Hastings Drive, Vine Street, Belmont Canyon Water Main project. We've got a progress payment before the board. It's progress payment number 3. We are nearly a month, I guess, kind of behind a delay, I guess, in terms of giving updates, because we're almost through the entirety of July. But as of June 30th, all of Vine Street has been completely in service. All residents are now on the new mains. And then C2R transitioned to constructing Belmont Canyon and the upper lock area. And I just spoke with the inspector, and as of today, all residents are in fact transitioned over to the new mains on Belmont Canyon and upper lock. So as far as moving into July, they have wrapped up finishing the water main installation on the Belmont Canyon area. And moving into August, the only portions of this project that remain are the slurry seal, kind of road restoration, minor pertinence work such as the retaining walls, and then also abandoning the small portion on Hastings. Included in this progress payment this month is change order number 1 in the amount of close to $39,000. And this has been mentioned in previous board updates. The reason for this change order was the sporadic veins of rock and large boulders that C2R encountered along Vine Street. This was an unknown kind of item that C2R incurred. it affected their average production rate to the point on some days they might get 2 to 6 pipe, depending on how much rock they encountered versus their average production rate. And so originally C2R had an original cost of around $60,000 for the delays that they encountered. And we were able to negotiate that down to 38,000 by coming to an agreement that it's in the interest of both the contractor and the district to view their loss based on their average production rate. In addition to the rock, they also encountered a concrete cap over the existing city storm drain that was completely unexpected. And then that was also, I believe, found as well on portions of Belmont Canyon. So there might be some extra work that the contractor may require or may request coming forward. And so as of the 30th, they had 42 days left remaining out of 98, and they're 80% done with the project. So we're nearing this project, it being completed with this probably in the next month or so, probably the next 2 months, depending on weather, especially when you start getting into September with road restorations. Hopefully it'll be great if we can get some rain in early September, but that would probably be the last outstanding item. So this month, the value of work completed was 457,000 and some change. And again, 20% remaining on the contract. So any questions on any of those projects?
I think there's photos, Monique, if you'll scroll down.
Oh,
I think
yes.
Brandon
Thank you,
included
Tammy.
photos, right? Yeah.
I did, yeah, thank you. So again, backup information as Monique is scrolling, all the backup information on the change order. And Monique, I think that's pages, looks
There you
like
go.
183.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so many of the board members have seen water main construction, maybe some have not. On June 6th there, that's the Vine Street to Arden tie-in connection. And what you're looking at there specifically in that photo is on every tie-in connection where we are tying into existing CIP pipe, we put a 3 feet piece of PVC pipe at the connection point. And what that does is that prevents our newly protected, cathodically protected water main. Our new water main is constructed such that the design of the cathodic protection system protects the new pipe. We don't want any of our current to extend beyond the new installation into the existing CIP pipe. So we put this PVC pipe in between to stop the current from passing from new to old. The second picture is that's a typical configuration of a valve cluster. In this case, we've got water main coming into a junction, and the district now has the ability to turn water off in 4 different directions, which will work out good for flushing or having to shut down specific sections of the district in the event repairs need to be made on water mains. If you could scroll down, Monique, thank you. And again, here's just a ductile iron pipe being installed along Belmont Canyon Road. And then the last picture is service work of, I believe in this particular picture, the new water service is coming over from the new main and it's tunneled underneath the curb. And they brought the new copper pipe up above. And in the picture there, they're using a level and ruler to set the height of the meter. And that's about it.
Thanks,
Do we
Brandon.
have any questions? No.
Good job,
Okay.
Brandon.
Good job, Brandon.
Mhm.
And 9B, financial reports.
And you're so patient too, Al. You ready? Is he muted?
I'm sorry, I always forget I'm muted.
Yeah.
Okay. So this month, the reports as of June 30th, 2022 are presented. The monthly budget report is included. And again, while it is through June 30th, not 100% of the year's activity is posted. To the best of my knowledge, the major, parts of it are the vast majority of the activity, but you continue to receive invoices from vendors as far as that goes. But I don't think any large ones are due in. I looked through the accounts and seemed like most of the large ones were there. I wouldn't expect much change in revenue. It generally is more tied to the actual time period. So again, all the year's activity is there for the great extent. And then, so with that in mind, I noticed some of the larger surpluses or deficits, as case may be. The water commodity charges revenue and fixed system charges total is about $300,000 in surplus. Then there's about $173,000 surplus between the property tax revenue and lease property tax. Two very large surpluses this year are potentially more or less one-time situations, so they should be discussed not as something that is expected to occur. I'm sorry. And that's the surplus in the water system capacity charges and the miscellaneous non-operating revenue. And the surplus from the miscellaneous non-operating revenue is mainly from property sale. And then the capacity charges, there were some large deposits that were made in recent years, and they were reviewed and determined that it's proper to recognize them as revenue at this for this year end. Salary and wages and payroll taxes, all the personnel costs total, there is roughly a budget savings of 140,000, but I do have to say that is going to be a bit smaller. This doesn't include the safety program and some leave cash outs that occurred at year end. So it's going to be a smaller surplus, I believe, when everything is settled. Fairly significant surplus in purchased water, about 240,000. There's some overages or deficits in the various line items, maintenance, repair, operating systems, maintenance, repair facilities. I've listed the causes for them. If you have any more questions, if I can answer them, of course, I'd be happy to. So the total surplus is roughly 2.8 million at this point. And again, a large part of that, approximately 2.3 million, is from the water system capacity charges and miscellaneous non-operating revenue. Thank you, Monique. That would be better to look at while I'm talking. So overall, of course, the year-end results do look to be good, certainly better than budgeted. And so also in the report is the statement of net position, which is the asset and liability accounts. And the current year is shown. It's not audited. And again, the numbers are going to change. I wouldn't expect greatly. But again, if bills are received, then, for instance, accounts payable are going to go up. But to best of my knowledge, the major activity has been recorded, and it's compared to last year's audited amounts. And you can look, cash has improved, and that certainly is a good situation. Overall assets have increased and liabilities have decreased. So, that's always a positive result. And then the final report is the investment and reserves report. And it shows the various account balances in the banks, as well as the interest that has been earned. The couple of ratios there, the quick ratio, current ratio, which is a financial tool that shows how easy it is or likely it is that you're able to meet your short-term obligations. And having ratios of 10 is a very solid number. So with that, if any of you have any questions, I'll try and answer them.
Thank you, Al. I was going to share with the board that in September, Sheldon will be presenting the reports. We've had really good transition meetings, and we intend to have another one here the first or second week of August with Sheldon and his team, so that we transition this over for monthly reporting with him. So Sheldon, I know you've been quiet too, sitting here so patiently during this board meeting, but I just wanted to make sure the board knew that we were working closely with him now, and he's been getting into our system and all of that good stuff. So just wanted to make
I'm sorry, Tammy, I don't know how to do the hand.
Oh, that's okay.
I just wanted to say it's been a pleasure working with this board. I've had, found it very professional, not just what discussions I've had, but listening seems to be a very strong board. And I've been impressed. Anyway, thanks very much.
Thank you, Al.
Louis, did you have a question or comment?
I had a quick comment, but then I started looking at Ellen, and I couldn't help reminding myself of Santa Claus, and Santa Claus brings presents. So bring us presents, Alan.
I've been trying to get into my
okay,
barber
so much for him being
weeks.
impressed with his board, Louis. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, no, I paid attention very carefully, Alan, but I'm looking at you towards the end. I go like, and I kept on thinking about something else. That's all right. The mind that wanders. But Mike, with the question that I was going to ask, could you spend a little time talking about those ratios, the quick ratio and the current ratios, and how we arrived and what that means to us, and in kind of more of a lay people's language?
Sure. It's basically you take your current assets, which are cash and accounts receivable, prepaid expenses, and as compared to your current liabilities, which are accounts payable, the bills you need to pay where you've received the invoices, or you've incurred the costs but haven't paid for them. So this is saying, and there's a slight difference, you take out prepaid expense for the quick ratio. So it's basically trying to show your cash in the very, over the next month or so. You're going to have, what this is saying, 10 times as much cash as you're going to need to pay your bills in the next month. Using layman's terms.
Yeah, good. So basically, the optimum area would be around 10, right?
It's normally, when it's looked at, it's more, not so much what, it's more of a negative thing is this getting to be a dangerous situation with this company?
Yeah. Okay.
If you see 10 or 15 or 20, I don't know if you're really going to care that the 20 is that much more than the 10. It's when you start seeing 1 or less than 1, or low numbers, that's where you really look at that number.
You start looking at maybe printing money then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't see anyone else with questions. So we can go on to directors' reports. See, Louis, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. I'll start. Nothing too major to report, except that, I attended the finance committee meeting, obviously, and the agenda meeting with the president. And tomorrow morning, I fly out of here. And I'll see you towards the end of August. But if I need to be contacted by email, I still get email. It may be a little bit late, but I still get email. Phone calls, no. Text messages, yes. WhatsApp, yes. But anyways, I'll be in contact. So I'm not gonna be totally gone, but I'll be 9 hours difference. So okay. That's it from me.
Okay, Matt?
Thank you for all of those who filled in for me last month while I was sailing in Croatia. I did have a good time, but that's really all I have to report, other than I did start my new gig at City of Palo Alto when I got back. So proceeding to get up to speed on that. So nothing, unfortunately, to report really related to the district.
You'll get a
Okay.
bill, Matt.
Yep. You already got thank you for it from other board members tonight, Liz.
And Brian?
Also not much to report. I'll be taking the last week of August and first week of September off, but could be reachable by cell phone.
Okay, and Kathy?
Not too much to report. I've been listening to the Belmont City Council meetings, just trying to stay up to date with what's going on. And 2 meetings ago, Warren Lieberman talked about the city of Belmont being one of 7 agencies that's participating in looking at water for, I guess, wastewater for potable use. So I'm going to circle back with him because he didn't mention we were one of the agencies that were involved. And I would appreciate better partnership, I should say. So next time I talk to him or have dinner with him, I'll just politely let him know to make sure he mentions us as one of the agencies that we're working with. But other than that, nothing else to report.
Brian, you had something else?
Yeah, I forgot about when Kathy brought up City of Belmont, the RENA process that the city's going through has some big housing numbers that are coming down the pike. So that might be something to think about in terms of water, something for us to be thinking about.
Okay. And I had the regular meeting, the finance committee, and the agenda meeting, and Louis and I also attended the staff informational meeting on the transition. So, which was interesting to see so many of the actual staff in person rather than hearing about them. And it seemed to go pretty well, Tammy.
Thanks. I'm glad you guys could attend. It was important.
No, it's important all the way around, actually, and most especially to staff, that they see their managers and their leaders and the board, so that was a good call. Good job.
You're welcome.
So item 10, communications. Do we have any communications? Tammy?
None from staff and none that I have to mention that have come in.
Okay. Then I think we're set for adjournment.
See you all in September.
Right.
Night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good
Have a
night,
great
everybody.
evening, and take care.
Good night.
Night, everybody.
Good month.
Take care, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
See ya.
And my thinking.